Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to turn the song off because that's what you do at the start of a show. Guys, how you doing? My name is Justin J. Wood, and this is Nerds of the Round Table, the brand new kind of podcast, kind of chat show, panel show that we're going to talk about spoilers, about all of the things that we love to watch and enjoy. And I've got an amazing panel today. We have, first off, let's say hello to Spring. Spring's down the end. Spring, you are muted before you start. Not there. You go. Everyone turn your mutes off just in case we don't want to break that. But Spring, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Wonderful.
Ready to hang out and talk about WandaVision.
Yeah, we are. Zach as well from last week as well. How you doing?
What is happening, everybody? I am spectacular. Thank you for asking.
I got so you can you've got your Edith's on. I'll put mine on for a second. These are always fun to do. And absolutely, I got them because you got yours, and I was like, oh, I got to get them. So I'm very glad that I have. And first in the show, and this technically is episode number 1. The one that we did last week was a test episode, but for the first episode as well, we have Rio Motley. Everyone say hi to Rio.
Hello, everyone.
How you going? So you guys are all in America and I'm in Australia. This truly is an international kind of affair. I love it. We've got people from all over the world, and that's the fun thing about these shows is that who knew that something like this could be made like even 2 years ago? We wouldn't have gone, oh yeah, let's just make a show with people all around the world. But COVID taught us that we can be friends with people even if they aren't in your own backyard. Today we are going to be talking about WandaVision. The finale specifically about WandaVision. What we liked about it, what we didn't, what we were expecting, what we were hoping, and if we were disappointed or not. I personally thought it was perfect. I thought the overall structure of the show worked exactly as I was expecting. The character arcs, I think, hit all the beats that I was expecting. I would give it a pretty decent mark, but let's start with you, Rio. What was your thought overall for the full season, for the full show?
The full season, I really liked. I'd probably give it maybe an 8 out of 10. The finale, though, I was very disappointed. I actually didn't like it at all. I felt like if you were setting up for a movie, like they kept advertising that they could have left it very open-ended. It didn't need to end.
Yeah, that's
for a
fair.
lot of different reasons, which I'll hit as we go along. I'd say I was disappointed in the finale. I liked what they did with it. I just didn't think it needed to be done the way they did it, which I'll get to.
Yeah. Spring, what was your overall thought of the entire season?
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought that even with the finale the way it was interesting. It left things in a way that people who aren't digging into the rabbit hole could really appreciate and enjoy it for itself. And maybe it'll make them more interested in stuff that is to come. But I think as a whole, as a 9-show series, I thought it was great. But when I was even telling my future sister-in-law about it today, who has not seen very many of the Marvel movies, has not been into it, but was kind of curious about WandaVision because she's heard a little bit of the buzz. And I was like, honestly, and I gave her 2 movies to watch and said, if you wanted to go into it and tell me what you thought of it with just having seen, say, Captain Marvel, I would be very curious how you felt about it and whether you got some kind of connection to these characters without any digging, understanding, all that kind of stuff. So I really liked it.
No, awesome. And Zach, I don't want to hear what you said. So no, dude, what did you think overall of the full show?
You probably don't want to hear what I have to say. If you're calling it perfect. If you call it perfect, that's a very strong statement.
So yeah, so when I do say perfect, I can see that it hit the beats that I was expecting, and I wasn't expecting anything more than that. And okay. I was left. I came into it very interested, and I left satisfied. So that's what I mean kind of by perfect. But what do you think?
I have a very complicated relationship with the finale of WandaVision. It's
Sure.
it's odd, right? Because I feel like I need to talk it out to get my feelings out about it, right? Where it um there was so much to really like about it, and even though it didn't do all the things that all of us nerds and geeks were predicting it would do, it simplified the ending, which I thought was appropriate, right?
Mhm.
It brought it back home where it was all about Wanda and Vision. That's what it was about. That's where they
Yeah.
brought it back at the ending. How they got there was very messy.
Sure.
Messy. And so I
But
have a
you're talking
lot
about
of
the finale, how they got
the
there,
finale,
like how the finale
in
wrapped up.
general. The
Okay.
It was
finale in
fast.
general. It was, I think Rio said it best. For me, I kind of give it that 8 out of 10 kind of over the overall series, right? Because there were basically 2 episodes, which I know we weren't 10 episodes, but there were 2 episodes that left me wanting more,
Mhm.
that I thought hopefully, could have been done better, but that's all subjective.
Yeah.
And so I kind of dock it 2 points because of that, unfortunately. And it was that 7th episode, and then the this finale, unfortunately.
Yeah. So talking about the finale in general, we can let's talk about what we didn't like and what we did like. I'd love to start with you, Rio, about what you didn't like about the finale, and then we'll end with me because I really liked it. I thought it was great. A big reason why I kind of want to jump to you and jump to Zach specifically, because if you guys have a bit more information from the previous knowledge of the characters from the comics, etc., not really from the movies as I do, because all of my knowledge comes from the movies with a smattering, with some condiments of the original comics. What did you feel about the finale, Rio?
It was too short. I think if they spread it out over 2 episodes or even just a really long episode, they could have taken their time a lot more. Because I agree with Zach, I feel like a lot of it was very rushed. Um,
I do agree with
I
that.
do feel
I
like
absolutely agree with that. That it should have been over 2 episodes, or that they did a movie length final episode, not shrink it down to like 40 minutes.
That was one of your predictions, Justin, that they would hopefully do
It
this.
it was.
Big
I was really
2-hour
hoping
event,
that they would end like an
and
actual
it
big
may
MCU
have been
film.
able. Yeah, it may have been a little bit better in that scenario potentially, if they had embraced that idea and made it that long. But I don't know if that changes particular story elements or anything like that. But there's a few things there that we can dive into. Rio, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
Also, your
oh
mic's
no,
frozen, and your camera's frozen. So we're trying to see if it's
yeah,
on your end or if
I
like
I honestly have no idea.
bloody
I'm gonna
technology.
switch cameras, but the quality is gonna be really, really bad. So you guys go ahead, and I will switch it and be right back.
Okay, no worries. It will try not to disconnect because your spot will move and that'll just be bad.
We're all gonna get shifted around.
Everything will
It's
be
gonna
like,
be
yeah.
chaos.
The
Literal
people listening to the
chaos.
podcast will be like, "What are they talking about? I can't see that she's frozen because it's a audio thing." Anyway, but yes, I definitely agree that it should have been longer.
I don't know if length would have helped in this scenario, because I feel like story-wise they were always going to go the direction they were going to go. And I got to be my biggest thing is, look, I still this has been debated amongst other pop culture shows, movies, we've heard these same gripes and complaints from things like Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lost, where it didn't hit all of the particular expectations or theories that your geek brains are putting out there. And in this scenario, the director, the showrunner, they're saying, why? Like, why did you think we were going to go there, but they laid so much thick groundwork for us to dive into these
Yeah.
crazy theories, right?
Yeah.
And it's why lay it on thick like that if you're really not, unless you're purposefully messing with the audience. And that's what they were doing. They may not admit it right now, but
Yeah.
that's what they were doing. Like, they were winking at the audience, casting Evan Peters to play Pietro. They were,
Yeah.
winking at the
I'm
audience.
actually curious sorry to jump in, but I'm actually very curious as to why they didn't just get Aaron Taylor Johnson to come back. Like, it would have made sense because she would have been like, You're alive. How are you alive? How are you back? Instead of it being, is it an MCU thing? Anyway, keep going.
It's a total TV trope, though, that actors have been replaced and everything, throughout television, right? And so I get the humor behind, when Darcy says she recast Pietro. Okay, yeah, she did. But if you're going to put Evan Peters in there, you got to know what the effect of that is going to be amongst fandom.
Yeah.
And they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, looking
It's
back on
almost kind of mean. Like, they were like messing up the people who got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get it, because I didn't know that series. Like, I never watched that version of the movie.
Right.
So,
but there was, there's a big, strong, I mean, they literally, and I mean, come on, they turned it into a boner joke. Like, they turned the arrival of Pietro, potentially the X-Men, into the MCU, and they made it into a boner, which, don't get me wrong, I laughed. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of a small slap in the face a little bit to all these fans, all these crazy fans that have been trying to figure out how it makes sense. Here's still my problem with it, though. And this has been my problems with the finale. I've watched it 3 times at this point. It's the little messy details that they left untouched. When Pietro ended up on her doorstep, they made a big deal that the barrier had been breached at that exact moment.
See, I keep going back to that, and I don't know what you're talking about, because I've seen the episode, and I haven't seen them. Like, I don't know what you're talking about when they say the barrier was breached. The barrier was breached
that the alarm was going off.
When we have a breach, the alarms are going off in S.W.O.R.D., and they're saying, we have a breach. And Pietro's standing there at the door. Like, they're saying that somebody breached the barrier, and nobody did.
See, I thought the barrier breach was before that, when Wanda sees the drone and breaks through the other side and throws it back to them.
It's all the exact same, because
I thought that's
around.
What that was.
It's all happening. The breach is happening at the same time. Wanda and Vision are having their little powwow on the couch.
Yeah.
And everybody's running around like crazy, and that's when Darcy runs by the computer and stops. Turns,
and sees.
Then they cut back and they watch Pietro walk in. But the reason that she was running around just like everybody else was because there was a breach happening, and they just glossed over that. Like, they threw that in there to make you think somebody entered the breach, and that was a fake out. Like, that was a total fake out. Like, that wasn't even the slap. That wasn't even the wink at the audience with the casting of Evan Peters. That's just a flat out lie to the audience, because nothing transpired to that.
It's interesting to me. I don't see it
like that. Loose ends.
Yeah. Oh, lots of loose ends.
A lot of loose ends. I still want to know who Jimmy Woo's person in witness protection is.
I told you they weren't gonna. I told you they weren't gonna.
It bothers me so much, because, like Justin was saying to me, he's like, "Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's just why Jimmy was there." And I'm like, "No,
I agree.
No,
I don't think I ever needed to know who that was. I just knew that there was a someone.
No.
But why introduce it? You needed to get somebody from one side of the country to the other side of the country who works for the FBI.
It's been so long since Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, they could have just been like, and now he's working on the Eastern Coast Bureau. Like, it didn't matter why he was there. He was allowed to be there.
Yeah, I knew it was going to end up just being a vehicle for him to get Jimmy Woo there.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense why she was calling him her husband, though. Like saying Ralph's my husband. Like,
well, she
was
is
living in the house.
aware of what was happening and totally just utilized the nosy neighbor character. She totally like jumped into that character and was like, "Oh, my husband, the husband that you never see." There's always that character that like Karen's husband, is it Stan in Will and Grace? You never see him. You never see other one from Frasier. What's Niles' something? I can't remember.
You see her.
Do you?
But the other thing was
there's
that
characters that you never see. So I think it was just like her being like, "Oh, we're doing a sitcom thing. I'm totally going to do the sitcom thing." But there was no.
But the other thing was that
what
he
you were
had
doing was great.
powers,
I'm
too.
totally going to do this. Yeah.
Do you think that all of his powers were just given to him by Agatha? Or do you think that there is some sort of thing going on there? Is he the person who was in witness protection? And the reason being that he has some powers and she was just controlling them. Like, there's still like these unanswered questions that could make sense if they decided to write it in the future. Maybe they were leaving it open. Maybe it is nothing.
See, they've burned me already, so now I've stopped theorizing.
Yeah. Well, the thing, yeah.
There isn't that much in like, and I know just from watching 23 movies in 5 weeks, like there aren't a lot of empty branches to stories in the MCU. Like even when Bucky died in the original Captain America, I was like, oh my God, Bucky's dead. And then, it was like, or is he? And it's kind of like that. There hasn't been a lot where you don't know or it hasn't come up again. So the fact that that was a thing, I don't see it as being something that eventually isn't answered.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys. The visual, it's all broken because Rio's trying to come back. She's doing everything she can, but right now it's Zach's side of his head, and it's Grogu. Grogu, what did you think of the finale of WandaVision?
Go this way.
I was like,
yeah, but okay. So about the show itself, I'm not okay. When it was written, when it was made, when it was produced, they were not planning on it being released weekly. Do you guys agree?
Are you
that
sure?
It wasn't? I'm confident that when they were making the show, it wasn't designed to be a weekly release.
I think
because of that.
You don't think so?
No. I think when they were making it, they made it like a bingeable show that they were just going to bring out. But then the success of
why would they have
Mandalorian,
had like the last week on, or you think they added
they
that
made
after?
they made that 100%. Absolutely.
Wait, okay. So explain why you didn't think it was it's meant to be a weekly thing.
Because I think because it was weekly, the amount of
let's drag her
hints,
back.
the amount great. The amount of hints, spoilers, theories, all of that were all Easter eggs. All the Easter egg-ness of the whole show was very prevalent throughout the show. I don't think a show should be built around Easter eggs. The Easter eggs were a separate, like, yummy, tasty chocolate. Welcome back, Rhea.
Thank you so much. I
You're
don't
welcome.
know what just happened.
That's okay. No,
We're
at
just
least you're
glad
back.
you're back.
I'm glad to see you back. The Easter eggs were the tasty, like the topping, but it wasn't the actual meal. It wasn't the ice cream. It wasn't the main thing. And because while we're watching each episode, especially coming up to the finale, we're expecting the Easter eggs to be something. I have a big thing, and that's why a big reason why I wanted to bring you on, Rio, because from the episode at the end of episode 6, the start of episode 7, I knew that if they didn't bring this Mephisto character in, who was a big character in the House of M comic, because they didn't bring him in, I was like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to just have him just appear. So that is a week to week. We can discuss, we can pick apart, we can go, oh, but that character might be, oh, but they're all the Easter eggs. I don't think a show should be built around Easter eggs. Now, what do you guys think about that? That's why I'm happy with how everything happened, because everything that was in the show was wrapped up. There was no sneaky extra bit that came in, like the aerospace engineer, which even online on websites that talk about it, they talk about the the astrophysicist, and I'm like, no, she never said astrophysicist. Aerospace engineer is completely different to an astrophysicist. So we're thinking about the Easter egg of maybe it's Reed Richards. But no, Reed Richards isn't an aerospace engineer, so that would never have actually come up. So what do you guys think?
The whole thing was so
about
silly.
Well, there's a quick point to make though on the weekly thing, because this originally before the pandemic hit, this thing was supposed to air for 9 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, Doctor Strange 2 was supposed to be in theaters. That was delayed because of COVID. So it was supposed to always be this weekly thing leading into Doctor Strange. We're just now going to have to wait a year, unfortunately, for Doctor Strange.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that they have done it that way, because like I haven't actually looked at the original release date for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Was that actually going to be coming out in 2020? Or was that 2021?
Whatever it is. Falcon.
Because WandaVision was supposed to come out last year. WandaVision was supposed to be a 2020 release, and then they bumped it. Or was it? Like, that's the thing. There was always that rumor of Christmas, and then Christmas didn't happen, but then it was still like the start of the new year. It was a whole like, oh, when is it coming out? Is it actually being pushed? And I think it was, based on what I think Kevin Feige has said, that all the shows were bumped week by weeks. But I could be completely wrong that it was designed as a bingeable show, because it seems like it should have been. I'm looking forward to, in the future, rewatching it outside of this vacuum and going, oh, that's the show. That actually makes sense. I don't actually need to pick apart or pick out the Easter eggs. I can take it as it actually is. But yes, having it come out so close to Multiverse of Madness would have been better, because we might have even had trailers for that. But would we? Would we even have trailers for Multiverse of Madness if Wanda's supposed to be in that film? Would she have been in any of the marketing? So it should have been at least 6 months off.
There's a new rumor out right now that they filmed Benedict Cumberbatch for this show, and then they chose to leave his scene out.
Sure.
Now, whether that was a post-credit scene or what, but there could have been, according to the rumor, that there was a post-credit scene type thing filmed with him for this show that they chose to leave on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Probably
so Rio,
it's been so delayed.
Yeah. So Rio, expectations of the finale coming in, and the show in general, with the Easter eggs and the spoilers and the thoughts and everything. What are your thoughts about that?
So I remember talking to you about how you said that Mephisto couldn't show up because they waited too long. And I still disagree. I still think he could have shown up in the finale, because, as Zach was saying, Multiverse of Madness was supposed to come out immediately after.
Yeah.
And he's still rumored to be the main villain. So they could have easily thrown him in, even if it's just a cameo, and said, where's this going to go now? Check it out in Multiverse of Madness. I think a lot of the Easter eggs, I think I'd say maybe about 60% of them were just little nods to the comic book readers, like the beekeeper being supposedly Franklin Richards, who is Reed Richards' son, who Agatha was his nanny. I think that is kind of a nice little, if that's true, it's still just, a little thing people are figuring out. But that's
Explain the
really, really
B
nice.
connection with him though. Is
Well,
there a
there was
B
no
connection with Franklin, or is it just a
no.
thought?
It was just he comes in the hazmat suit, but then once you pass the hex, it turns into something from that time period. So
Yeah.
he would have just turned into a beekeeper. I don't think there was actually a B connection.
Okay,
He
cool.
had
No,
powers
sure.
very similar to Wiccan. So
Mm-hmm.
but I'd say maybe about 60% of them I'd say were just little nods to the comic book readers, but another 40% of them should have turned into more, whether it's leading into Multiverse of Madness, characters turning into other characters. Someone brought up in one of my chats that they didn't know who Dottie was, and then they never did anything with that. I thought
Yeah.
that was something they could have done a lot more with rather than just throw you off the scent. So with the finale, I still think they could have done a lot more with it, bringing characters in or explaining more things, and they just kind of ended, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, it actually makes perfect sense. And I think that's a testament to how short that episode was. If it was longer, then we would have been able to spend time with basically the Westview residents more. That should have been a bigger thing. Because they were the ones who were being puppeteered. We should have seen it kind of from their perspective, but then it's not about them, it's about Wanda. So we see it from her perspective. And then you still can't really connect with how the chaos magic thing about her, I think we needed to see more of, because I don't understand why she thought that she was essentially doing a good thing. She was doing the thing with the town. I don't 100% agree. Obviously, I don't agree with what she did, but it's weird that she didn't give them complete autonomy, but be stuck. But then they can't, because then they'd try to fight against. But why wouldn't she just? Because she's telepathic, isn't she? So she should be able to hear the voices and read the minds of all the residents to go, oh, Dottie's daughter hasn't been able to move or whatever for 6 weeks. She hasn't been able to communicate. Like, I would have been. I would like to have seen that, or to see
She didn't
how
seem to be all
Wanda
that concerned
controlled
with
that.
these people. Like,
Well,
she wasn't even thinking about any of them. She was really just thinking about herself. And it was kind of like she said, like, this just sort of happened. So I don't know if she planned everything. It just kind of worked. And so she went with it.
yeah, it's the whole chaos part of the chaos magic, I think, is the answer. It's the, oh, this is how they did it because it's chaos magic. We don't really have to explain it because it's just chaotic. It's just random. She doesn't have full control over it, but maybe she will in the future. No
Does
idea.
that make her undeserving? Is that why Agatha failed to get her magic? Because she's not undeserving.
Yeah, the line that she says is, I take power from the undeserving. Is that just her opinion, or is it actually the undeserving? She took power from all the other sisters in her coven because she wanted it, or because she believed that they were undeserving because she just wanted more power?
Or because she felt like they were hurting her and trying to take her power, so they were no longer deserving once they were harming people. Once they were harming people, which actually goes hand in hand with what she said to Wanda. Like,
yeah,
there's more to explore with Agatha for sure. I think
on
the surface it appears as if Agatha is taking her power to in a villainous type role. Not to because Wanda's undeserving, but because Agatha thinks that she is deserving of that power.
More deserving, yeah.
Yeah, more deserving. Because she tells her, there at the end, I'm going to use this power to
fix what you did.
Yeah, and but you're going to be stuck in it, kind of punishing her, kind of thing, or whatever. Agatha was using people from the town, manipulating them just as much as Wanda was to get what she needed.
Well, and then she tried to manipulate Wanda to get what she wanted too.
So
like, she's not exactly a forthcoming
it
person.
right. So that's the thing. It was that kind of that kind of scenario there. And, again, that even goes back to the 8th episode where they make this big deal in the 7th episode that was Agatha all along, and then but it wasn't. Like, there's just some interesting choices they made in this show that really keep it from being. It was so tasty early on, and I just feel like as they got towards the end, it's weird. It almost feels like they just didn't know how to end it or something. Like, it was just some weird choices that they were their choices. It's their choices to make. I'll never knock someone from their own property from making choices about their own property. But it was just strange choices considering the groundwork that they had laid leading up to that.
Yeah.
That's where I start having problems with it.
Honestly, the Agatha all along bit was probably the thing that twisted the expectation of it being talking to the audience, so breaking the fourth wall, saying that it was Agatha all along, because that song was for us. That song wasn't for people inside the show. So saying that it was Agatha all along and it being actually an absolute lie, because it wasn't Agatha all along. She was Agatha all along, not it was Agatha all along. So that's where they stuffed up. If it was she was Agatha all along, would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Because she
what's
wasn't
the That's the thing.
being
We still
like
don't know
evil,
what the
doing the
is.
evil things. Like, what was she? What did she actually do? She
killed Sparky too.
That's the only thing she did.
Right. Like, I'm
Really?
sorry, but what else did she do that was so bad?
And
Well,
I
we don't
killed
know. That's the
Sparky.
thing. Like,
That's
we
the only
still don't
bad
know
thing that I did.
how much of what happened in there
And
was
Sparky
her.
wasn't even a
Like,
real
they didn't
boy.
answer that question.
Sorry?
I was just saying that they didn't answer the question of how much of it was her. What was she doing? All we know is that she
Yeah.
didn't know how Wanda did it, and she wanted to. So they really didn't answer the it part of what she
It was
did.
Agatha that knew about Wanda, but needed to know how she did it so she could do it herself all along. So, yeah.
Or is
And
it
if I
Agatha
can-
who's introducing the idea of Wanda becoming the villain eventually, saying like it's your destiny to destroy the world? Like,
Okay.
what's she playing at here?
If they wanted to go down that route, Wanda would have been the villain at the end of the season. She would have been friendly, kind of what's going on, to bad guy. It would have been, Agatha would have been, what the hell is going on? I'm the antagonist to Wanda's story, but then Wanda would have, like, say, killed her, then taken over the town or done something specifically bad. But she was trying to, as soon as she knew that she was actively doing things, she was trying to stop it. And it's still her mind, it's still her abilities that are uncontrollable that made her villainous. But it was always that she's still an Avenger, she's still always going to do the right thing. And so she always pulled back. Because she's pulled back and because she's a good guy at the end, I don't think she's going to be a villain going forward at all.
Well, what about
She's
her
going to be
destiny?
powerful,
So
but
you're
villain.
saying that her destiny means nothing?
Well,
It's the
Thanos'
choose your
destiny.
destiny aspect of the Avengers, though.
Right.
Thanos had destiny.
Yeah.
Tony had destiny. They've all got that, but whether or not you actually do anything about it, or it's the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force, and sometimes it goes wrong, and then it goes right, but then the sequels go nah, and then rewrite that. So anyway, let's not talk about Star Wars.
They
want to.
better have a darn good excuse in Multiverse of Madness of why Strange did not show up in Westview.
Yeah,
Because when you
Can I actually touch on that?
Please.
for a
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
I'd
Great,
love
great,
to hear
great.
what Ria
Yes.
has to say. Yeah.
Well, finish your thought, and then I'll piggyback off of that.
You have Agatha flat out say, I was drawn to this place because of how much magic was being used all at once. You're telling me the Sorcerer Supreme didn't want to pop his head in there and go, what's up? Come on.
Or it didn't come in first because he's more powerful than Agatha and would have gone, yo, what's
I
going
don't
on to
know.
her?
It's
Who are
like
you? Oh,
Captain
we
Marvel
both want to
took her
know what's
sweet
going
ass
on.
time. Like, it's not like characters don't take their sweet ass time in this
Well, that's the thing.
universe.
If they can explain Strange away that he's in another dimension or realm or whatever, I'll give them a little bit of explanation away. But you're talking about magical beings here, and that's kind of his arena. I mean, that's the reason he's there. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. He is there specifically for things like this. And he's not going to show up. That's a big problem for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. So, Rio, go.
I mean, to add on to that, Agatha literally had one of the Ancient Ones books. I mean,
Yes.
they make a huge deal in the first movie saying Wong knows where all the books are. Don't you think they could have easily used that too? Of like, oh, someone opened the book, like we're here to get it. Or I had this issue with Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
It didn't need to be made. That's what I always tell people, because nothing came from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that played into the Infinity War movies. There was no Infinity Stone introduced. Star-Lord didn't keep his powers. There was nothing introduced in that movie that played into the overlying theme. And I feel like WandaVision is kind of the same way. There was nothing really in it that is going to move forward in the series. And that could have easily been fixed if Doctor Strange just showed up in the last 5 minutes and went, what's going on? Or even if Reed Richards shows up and goes, I haven't heard from Franklin in a really long time. Where is he? And like, then you would have introduced Fantastic Four into being rebooted and Multiverse of Madness being tied in. Like, that would have been super, super easy to do.
I personally don't want Franklin to come in until way later anyway, but introducing it that Sue and Reed have a child would do that. Oh, this is different. It's like we're not going to introduce Uncle Ben. We don't even know who plays Uncle Ben. That'd be great if one day we actually have Uncle Ben be on screen for the Spider-Man films. But the thing is, though, the WandaVision did wrap up Wanda's grief. She did start with being just, I need to get him back, and it ended with, I've said goodbye, but we'll say hello again. So that's the reason of WandaVision, and I agree. Guardians 2, I don't like that much, because I'm like, nothing happens, they split up, and then the only thing that really happens is that certain characters die, certain characters come into the team. Nothing actually happens of consequence.
You actually told me I could skip it.
Around. It moves the
But there were a few characters I needed from it. Like, there were characters that came up later, like the sister. Like, there was characters that came up later that I needed for the other movies. And I also hated Guardians of the Galaxy and liked the second one, so it was worth watching. But anyway.
There was character development in Guardians 2 that played into Infinity War. You needed that Nebula character.
The Nebula Gamora relationship, 100%. So they should have almost done a Nebula Gamora movie and not a Guardians movie.
That's a big deal.
But Guardians fit so well, people wanted to go watch it. So like, it was worth calling it that.
You needed Gamora to also kind of, you needed that Gamora Star-Lord relationship to bloom a little bit more.
Yeah, so you're broken a little bit more. Yeah.
By the time you get to Infinity War, when she's thrown off the cliff and all that, you know what I mean? Like there was character development that moved pieces there, and it's the same way with WandaVision. Like the White Vision unlocking his memories, put that character back in play.
Where'd he go?
Oh my god! Can we get into White Vision? Oh my god!
It was like the first
Rio,
thing on the list of
did you
things to
finish
talk
up
about.
with your thoughts? Because we can jump into White Vision 100%.
Well, it kind of segues into White Vision, because I feel like the only thing that came out of WandaVision for me is that. I mean, yes, kind of jumping ahead, she did take the book, but I mean, White Vision is really, I already knew she was a strong Avenger. The Chaos Magic, all they're kind of doing is just changing her backstory now. It's not changing anything about her, in my opinion. I already knew she was so strong. So White Vision being the only thing to come out of it, but then he immediately bails. He
Yeah.
doesn't look for Wanda. He doesn't say, I'm going to find the Avengers. He doesn't do any, he just flies off
Yeah.
and
I think he's
leaves
going
them
to
That's
play
on their
very
own,
squash.
strange.
He's going to play
Yeah.
squash. It's just been like,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. I mean, he knows that there's something going on in the town, and if it was Vision, don't you think he would have stayed and helped fight? That just seems so out of character for me because
yeah.
he's always been, I'm on the side of life. He even says that in Age of Ultron. He's
Yeah.
like, Ultron's not on the side of life, and I am, but then he just bails when everyone's in trouble.
It was
Yeah.
very strange, but that's why I'm like,
It's
where is he?
not
Zach?
not only does he bail, it's never mentioned. Like there's not even a throwaway line there where Wanda's like, "Where'd Whitey go?"
No.
And
Yeah.
and he
Where's
and
the other one go?
and Wanda's
what did-
Vision says, you know, "Oh, we came to an understanding or something." Like it's just left alone. Like they literally
I mean,
don't say
unless
anything about it.
he destroyed himself because his directive was to destroy the Vision, and he figured out that he was the Vision.
But then when he
They're
got
not
his
gonna-
memories back, I have a feeling that was when his eyes changed. When his
Yeah.
eyes changed, it
Then
would
he
have been
became,
the
like,
okay. I'm
autonomous
Vision again.
again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
But
you might be able to write.
Maybe he went to go try to find Tony. I don't know, because I don't know where his memories stopped
yeah.
through
Well,
all
I'm
of
really
that.
curious.
then.
If he is worthy. We need to get him to pick up Mjolnir and go, okay, cool. We trust him. Because I don't think I trust this one like how we trusted the original Vision because he picked up Mjolnir. So straight away we know that we can trust him because of that. And yeah. And now, and because we can talk about spoilers and stuff, I saw a set photo from Thor Love and Thunder today with a previously known location. I'm not going to fully spoil it just in case people don't want to know, but a familiar location from the last film that has something to do with Mjolnir. And I'm very excited to see what that's going to happen. And obviously Jane, the mighty Thor, when it's Jane Foster, she has Mjolnir. So how does that actually work? Maybe that means that we will actually get Vision being able to hold it again. I don't know.
I don't think you're
But
going to see Vision again for a few years. But and Rio might
Maybe.
like this more than anybody else on the panel. But most of us, I think, have thought going into it that this was a one and done series for WandaVision.
Mhm.
But a buddy of mine threw out the idea.
The final episode is
that I
called
can't-
the series finale, not the
series
finale.
right? So
Yeah.
it is definitely the finale. But I can't take credit for this idea, but I love this idea. Is that we end up getting a second series, so to speak, but instead of WandaVision, it's just called The Vision, and it's all about the Tom King Vision comic book run where he leaves basically this exact same moment in time in the comics, trying to find himself, and he creates his own reality. He creates his own wife. He creates his own kids. He creates his own dog Sparky.
Oh.
And we can continue on.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can get that next sequel series kind of continuing his story where we learn some of
What if they called it
what
The
he was
Wandering
processing.
Vision?
Oh, stop. Wonder
Marvel,
Vision instead
pay
of
me all of the money.
WandaVision?
Call it The Wandering Vision. I think that's
God.
It would
genius.
It would definitely be more, I think, more in line with your typical
And make it just
Marvel-
like the Hulk, where it's like doing that whistle
Oh, God,
song
yeah.
and he's got his thumb out.
Well, they've got She-Hulk for that though now, right?
I know. They better do something like that in that show. They better do that.
So you guys did actually discuss this when I was having some technical difficulties. Did we finish up the conversation about Ralph?
Oh, the boner joke? No, we didn't. We didn't get too much into the boner joke.
You can
Okay.
add your 2 cents.
Yes.
Because we had mentioned the necklace and like, does the necklace have to do with anything? I think I agree with Springfan that he is probably the one in witness protection, and I don't think that's his real last name, because obviously in witness protection you get
It sounds
fake
like a
identity.
fake name.
Yeah, why would you laugh at your own last name, especially if
Well,
you
he
get,
didn't know
like,
that was
bullied
him
about it?
at that moment. Like, because
He was
when
still
she
under
was
her
saying
control.
like, "You're Ralph Boner," he's like, "Boner," because he
But
was
he
still
would've known.
Pietro then.
Mm,
I
yes,
think
but I
Agatha
mean,
was just changed him, but
but
it w
the first thing
yeah.
he does that really caught my attention is when she removes the necklace, which I think is what gave him Pietro's powers and identity.
Mhm.
When she removes the necklace, his immediate thought is spare
Don't
my
hurt
life,
me.
which is a
Yes.
very witness protection statement. He doesn't know what's
I
going
agree with
on.
you.
He wouldn't have known who she was. So his first thought is someone's on me. I'm in fear for my life. So he could easily, I mean, Evan Peters posted a video saying it was a lot of fun to go hang out with Marvel, but I think they could definitely continue his story somewhere because the name Ralph Boner is actually tied to someone, a very, very famous case in history, a real case, with someone in witness protection with that name. And so it is kind of a little Easter egg, but it's also kind of tying into something bigger.
Yeah.
I agree with Zach. It was kind of a waste that they cast Evan Peters and then didn't do anything with it, other than a little nod to the X-Men movies.
Mm.
But I'm fingers crossed that they'll maybe do something more with him and bring him back in the future, even if it's for something small. They could easily get away with it.
But
Yeah.
to what end though? Because he's not Pietro. He's not Peter Maximoff. So what's the purpose of even bringing him back at this point?
Well,
Depends
But
on
we
what
don't
he
might
know
can
what
kind
do.
the
of
witness
be
Yeah.
protection
proof,
was.
but it
He's
also
an
kind of
FBI
might be
informant.
proof that the multiverse, that there are multiple people that look like him.
Mhm.
Maybe, I don't know, stupid writing in my head
You
right now, but maybe they
dismiss
go,
me when I
oh,
say
we need somebody to look like me. Oh, I know a guy that looks just like you. Yeah, it's Ralph. And I don't know. So it could be that, but it won't.
Yeah.
Um,
But it also could tie into, because they have so many different, I mean, they have Armored Wars coming, or the Secret Wars, or whatever it's called. They have
yeah, Armor
the new
Wars.
Fantastic Four
I think Secret Wars is
they're
also
doing
coming.
all these, I
Both.
think it's both of them. They have the New Mutants,
Both.
they have the, I mean, all this stuff could very easily tie into why he's in witness protection.
Mhm.
I mean, even Daredevil, they
I
could
will
tie
be
it back
very
to that.
disappointed if they don't come back to this ever. Like, I
Yeah.
want to know about this witness protection person, and I know you don't care as much as I do, but it's
No, well,
really
I'll
like it's
care if
on
it
my
needs to
mind since the
be.
beginning.
You
I'll
don't
Yeah.
have to
definitely care if
solve
it needs to be.
Plus,
all
I
they
love
have to do.
Jimmy, and I want him around again.
All they have
Well,
to do
Yeah.
to solve
we need
all of
that
this
show to
stuff,
come out.
all these
Mhm.
questions that we'll have for all of these movies, for all of these TV series that they have to leave unfinished because of time issues, is they just need to bring back the Marvel one-shots, start giving us some shorts,
Mm.
explaining we need a Ralph Boner one-shot.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
But
think that's
You know,
hard at all. They used to basically do the little short films.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
yeah,
And Disney Plus is ripe for something like this. They just need to do it. It'll take, I don't know, 2 weeks to shoot. Done. How
I
hard is
just
it?
don't understand.
Disney's like,
I
all
don't
the money,
understand why
make the show.
they had the whole ending scene with Jimmy Woo there on the street. Why couldn't he be holding his informant right next to him? Like it was as
Mhm.
simple as that.
Yeah.
Well,
they
and
just
that's another
it
thing
was
I want to
again.
bring up. Go ahead.
Well,
No,
no, I mean
finish.
that's
Yeah.
literally it. It was literally just the simplest of things that they could have done. They chose not to. I don't know why they chose not to do the simplest of things on some. Explain the white vision away, explain the informant away. Explain.
Give Darcy a better
Doctor.
ending.
Yeah, she's
Darcy
just gone.
didn't do anything, and they even
She's
wrote
just freaking
wrote
gone.
her out. They was like, "Oh no, she just doesn't want to be part of the rest of the episode."
Again, it's weird
Because she was so
weirdness.
great, and then all of a sudden it was like she did one crash. Oh, sorry.
Have
Then
fun
she's
in
gone.
prison.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
I don't know. Anyway, go ahead, Rio.
I
Sorry.
feel like no, you're good. I'm sorry I keep interrupting. I have three really big complaints. Aside from they should have done more with Mr. Boner. Why bring Wu into it if they're really not going to do anything with him? They could have cast an unnamed FBI agent. The only thing that I think even remotely ties him back is the fact that he's interacted directly with Ant-Man. And like maybe he's not going to freak out when weird stuff starts happening, but that's still, in my opinion, not a good enough reason to
He
bring
would have
him
been
all the way
sent
into the
there
series.
if that was the case, because he would have been sent there. He went on his own of his own volition because one of his like informants was missing. So it's like, I'm gonna fly myself over and check it out. If he was sent,
Well, they didn't call him an informant; they called him a witness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The other thing is that like Jimmy Woo obviously works with people with extraordinary powers and stuff too. So he's a comfortable person in that situation. If the witness in witness protection is someone with powers, it makes sense that he's the one tracking that person. I've got someone in there.
But he doesn't work closely with people with powers, because the only person we've seen him work with is Ant-Man. I mean,
but it's
that's
been a
the only
while
person.
since then.
Yeah,
it's
but
been
also,
a long time.
And this
since then, 5
is
years
me
at
being
least.
super. Well, that's the thing. This is me being super picky. This is weeks after half the universe came back to life. So that's weird for all of this to happen
person just
without
back?
kind of.
No, Jimmy. Well, Jimmy had been. Well, Jimmy didn't. Jimmy had been around practicing his magic for 5 years.
Something I've only just thought of. You know how like dilapidated Westview is? That's of course direct representation of life still trying to get back to normal after the blip. Yeah. And I've only just thought about that. Was that clear to anybody else?
Yeah, that's what I picked up from that.
Okay, I just thought that it was a shitty little town. It's Jersey, terrible.
It's exactly what Scott Lang was walking through in San Francisco.
Yep.
You know, it was trash piled up on the sides of the street and everything. Yeah. Like the world is trying to get itself back. And that's the thing. WandaVision is our first look post snap. You know, and that takes place before Spider-Man. Spider-Man gave us several months before or after snap. So they had a little bit of time to start working out some of these, you know, cleanup issues and people getting back to normal and getting back to life and dealing with it. Where this, like you said, Justin, this is people literally weeks out, just 2-3 weeks out from the snap, trying to get back to it. So
look, we don't know if the reason Dottie is so upset that she can't hold her daughter is because her daughter just flipped back, or she did. Like, see, it makes so much sense that they're like, why are you doing this to us? I look in the mirror and I don't recognize my face and my voice. And I mean, she's doing this to them right after they all
these people,
or half of them
people in that
back.
town. That people in that town have been nothing but tortured for 5 years, whether it be they themselves were blipped or a loved one or friends were blipped. Yep. So they had just started
now
to
this
get
is
back.
happening.
Yeah. And now this is happening. I feel awful for that town. And that's the villain role that Wanda played, an almost selfish role. Now she kind of caused it inadvertently and then just didn't stop and kind of retreated back in her own mind. She wasn't thinking
in terms of that, though.
But her chaos, magic is run by her emotions. They showed you that when all the crowd was getting on her and she just snapped once again and sent them all, you know, like she didn't even realize what she's like, stop, sorry, you know, stop. Like she didn't realize even what she was doing when she did it, which is what they are setting up is now that she's got that Darkhold, she's even more powerful than what she's literally been turned loose at this point.
Can I ask a quick question about Agatha's black fingers? Because Wanda had like blackish fingers at one point also. Is there a thing about that?
Arm was being, well, her magic was being drained away. And it's basically she was being like.
I can actually answer that.
Thank you.
Yeah, go.
It's an aesthetic choice.
Okay.
Like I can put money on it because she's supposed to be the enemy. Like from a costumer perspective, that was purely just contrast and aesthetic. Because if she had her white hands against the dark costume, she'd just look like a chick in a costume. But because they could have easily given her gloves too. But because they added that, it feeds to the dark magic part of it and the fact that she is the villain. That was, I would say, purely just aesthetic.
Okay.
Yeah, I was way more agreeing with that being aesthetic instead of it being a thing. But still having Wanda be like fully black hands and black arms, and then the rest of her didn't. But then she got all like emaciated. If that's
that actually, I want to jump off of that if I can, because I had the same conversation, and I haven't come to a resolution on it yet. At what point in time did Wanda start tricking Agatha? At what point in time was she no longer really draining her powers? Was it after
Oh,
they
when
were
she came
already in the
outside.
air,
Yeah.
or
From the
so it
second
was?
she came outside and saw her choking her kids, I think she had a plan already.
You
As
think
soon
at
as
that
she
moment?
said,
I
"You know,
don't
my
think so.
magic now works again." I think that that was the moment that she realized that she could get the upper hand.
Hmm.
There was a
And that's
scene.
when she was like, "We're gonna have this, and we're gonna have this fight, and I'm gonna make this my space now because I know how to do that. Thanks for teaching me it." She learns fast. Like,
I think
I
you.
really
I
think it
think
was
you've
that
jumped the
moment.
middle of it. I do think that there was definitely a spot, and it was just before. I can't remember the exact spot, but it wasn't when she first left the house. It wasn't when she saw the kids. It wasn't when she started fighting. But there was definitely a spot where she then started fighting her again. They went up, and then she started throwing the bits. So there was that click of, oh, I know how to actually do this now.
Because she was
But I
throwing
don't remember the exact
she was
spot.
making the runes at that point when she was up in the
Yes.
air. You could see her
Mm-hmm.
purposely missing. So
Mm.
at what point before then, like, is that when she knew that she could?
I think she hit her with the car, she knew that she could do this. She was kind of just working through how.
See, and
Maybe.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think when they were up in the air, she was fully willing to sacrifice herself for her family.
Mm-hmm.
She had kind of saw that like the hex would not work, but she was past that point because she was going to let the townspeople go as well. But as soon as they went up in the air, she may have been fully convinced in her head that I'm going to sacrifice myself, but then she realized she could do the runes like you guys are saying, and that's when everything kind of turned. She
Mm.
needed to believe it herself in order for Agatha to believe it, because she knows that Agatha is wicked smart and like could probably like figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
There was something else I wanted to throw in.
was her power really getting
Go.
drained though, Rio? Like when she, because at
Well,
one
her
point in time
hand
she's
did
like, you
get
can have
all
it.
Mhm.
I mean
skeletal.
beyond the hand.
I think she was
I
tricking
mean up
her.
there. Because as soon as she wanted to, she turned it off and became completely fine again. And I just felt
Mhm.
I think she was trying to trick her.
I thought that was like almost an illusion when when Agatha thought she was absorbing all that power, that was all part of the illusion. And I didn't know when that
The
illusion started.
way
Was it kind of thing?
the way I would do it is when you look at how Wanda uses her magic, it spreads. It's like a bloom. So let's say,
Mm.
just hypothetically, every single one of those magic pieces that she threw, um, that missed. Let's say it was a full, a full rune, and she had to get a certain number of runes around them. Well, it would have to impact with the hex and then spread out to form the shape. I don't think she formed the shape each individual time. So she could have been losing her magic as she was missing, but then once it spread enough to form the final rune, that's when it clicked off. And she was able to, because she was completely, I would say, incapacitated
Mm.
for, Agatha's monologue. But then as soon as those runes finished forming, that's when the Uno reverse card came out, and they were able to switch it, because you don't see the runes actually forming. So that's
Mm.
how I would probably guess what happened.
I also think that's just a filmmaking choice. It's one of those things where
Mhm.
a characters are walking towards the camera, and as soon as the camera sees the waterfall, that's when the characters see the waterfall. So even though the waterfall's right in front of the people, as soon as the camera sees it, that's when they see it. I think that's just a filmmaking choice.
Hmm.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah. So who is more of a bad guy in this? Agatha or Hayward?
Hayward.
Hayward. Yeah.
What a
Like seriously,
I hate him so
he
much.
actively got a gun and pointed it at 10-year-old children and tried to shoot and kill them. Like
Well,
he has no
figured that they were
idea.
fake anyway, so
That again,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think that matters.
didn't care about shooting
That's
right
not
at
cool.
Monica either.
That decision, that character decision with Hayward made no sense to me. This is a guy that had been living through the snap, was basically left in charge, trying to put pieces back together.
Mhm.
felt a little bit
Literally.
threatened. Literally, and felt a
he
little
was
bit
trying
threatened
to
when Monica
piece
showed
Vision
back up. But
Vision.
together.
Yeah, we got it. Thanks.
he was he was he was Tony Stark trying to rebuild a suit of armor for around the world, and I understood that he was being misunderstood the entire time, but then all of a sudden, just to drive the point home that yes, he's an evil dude, they have him go try to shoot 10-year-old kids. Made no sense.
Yeah.
Other than we're really going to drive it home, point home that no, he's not just misunderstood. He's a dummy.
Cuckoo. Yeah.
He was like really two separate characters in that show. When we first met him, I was like, oh, cool. We trust him. Monica trusts him. There's a good relationship there. So it's not like he's the shady boss to start with. He was totally on board. He was a little bit of a like, that sucks, boss, because I want to be up in the space, but now I have to be on the ground. So that's the only like, damn, I'm not the boss, so I can't control that stuff. But he didn't seem to be nefarious until like he all of a sudden was. Even the lie, I don't understand. The people that are around him, how half of them, all of them, knew that he was trying to rebuild the Vision. They are sword agents. They are not SHIELD agents. They are not FBI agents.
And they're not.
They are
Hydra
sword
either.
agents.
Like Sword's supposed to be the good guys.
Yeah. So all of a
A lot
sudden
of
they're the
people
bad guys
fake
again, but are
faces
they?
on, so who knows? That's the thing that got to me between the last couple of movies. You like, this is before Spider-Man Far From Home, like chronologically, but the amount of people who weren't who their faces appeared to be in that movie, and just it bothered me so much.
In like a organization like that to feed that you're doing the right thing, because we saw it happen with SHIELD, we saw it happen with Hydra, we saw it happen with Hydra inside SHIELD. How hard would it be for Hayward to go, we need this weapon because of what we just saw happen with the blip? And how many people would go, yes, and he goes, but you can't tell Monica, and Monica just came back from the blip. She doesn't know what everyone else has gone through. I don't think it's too outlandish to say that everyone around him knew what was going on and didn't say anything because of what they went through,
like security protocol. Like that. It does make sense, except his behavior just switched so much. The fact that there were so many things that he ordered to have done during the show that they weren't communicating with other people really bothered me. Like, that's not how organizations work. That's not how you win if you're in a fight. You communicate and you all work together, and that just wasn't his way in so many ways that I don't trust him at all.
Because for some reason he was treating his own sword agent that he trusts, who has been around forever. He didn't trust her with going, oh no, we're trying to do this, and that's what we're doing. You've just escaped the hex. This is what we're actually doing. We're actually rebuilding the Vision right over here. For some reason, there's a Vision in there, so we're tracking it to see if there's vibranium that we can grab from it, because he didn't know that. So I think that's why he was tracking the vibranium, so he can actually use it for rebuilding. But then again, why can't he just go like, yo, Wakanda, sup? I need some more. Oh, you don't have any left? Or you just don't want to give it to me? That makes no sense, because you're sharing with the world now. So why can't I have it? So
the whole thing, he doesn't belong to you. He
doesn't
like
belong to him.
That whole thing. He doesn't belong to. Who's he belong to? Stark? Like who? What? He's his own thing.
Yeah, he should be his own thing, and straight away he should be treated.
A lot going on there.
In my opinion, he should be treated human.
The fact that he had a living will, and they weren't honoring that.
You've mentioned the
really
terminology bad. Living will is different to just having a will.
Yes.
So you have a living will when you're not dead.
Why did all the remaining unsnapped Avengers just leave Vision's body laying there in the Wakanda woods
Doesn't make any sense.
Sword to show? Like again,
no. They would have taken
some
them
major issues with the whole White Vision situation anyway.
Honestly, though, in my opinion, I think the Vision's body would have been at Avengers Tower. But that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
If I was Cap, I'd be like, we're returning his body back to the Avengers Tower,
the compound.
But then
the compound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then you have to write, well, we can't do that because it's going to get blown up. So we can't do that. So let's just leave it open and we'll figure it out later.
Right.
So there must be a story where Captain America was like, we're going to have them be here. And then we've got 5 years to deal with this. We're going to have him at the compound. And then Sword would have been like, actually, we're going to see if we can put him back together. And they would have been like, yeah, great, cool. Give it a try.
So we still
You're
don't
all
really
that.
know that much about the origins of Sword. Like, we kind of got some hints as to it, but we
Well, we
really
do
don't
from the
know the
comics.
origin story of the organization.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But here's my argument with what you just said, Justin, is you're looking, I think, from a movie perspective, because they only had 6 hours to work with, and which is what I'm saying. If it was longer, we could have easily seen how they got the body. But right now, it's pointless.
Yeah.
And then what you said about he didn't tell Monica when she came out of the hex what was going on. She immediately started showing signs of trusting Wanda, and he knew that she would disagree and was just probably expendable at that point.
Yeah.
Just going off of that. But something that just popped into my head is, how were they tracking the vibranium when he was not vibranium? He was the soul stone.
He was...
Or the mind stone.
No, well...
By saying
you are
they
the
were
part
tracking...
of the Mind Stone. You're the part of me from the Mind Stone or something.
I mean,
but
he
still,
was just the
he
Mind
would have
Stone's
been
body.
vibranium because she would have been creating the vibranium out of the nothing, because that's what she can do. She can do that. But it's weird that she made it actually vibranium.
But is that possible? Because they flat out say that anything in the hex has to be made from pre-made material that she's just rewriting.
Well,
He's really the only
but
the fact that
she made her children too.
Agatha says she created life, and so she had, but they can only live inside the hex. So she created, from my perspective, she flat out created vibranium. It could only survive inside this hex that she created, this hexed world she created. But she actually manifested vibranium.
Oh, just like the fact
just
that
how
she
freaking powerful she is.
Changed the bulletproof vest into an outfit, like things like that.
Well, and I have one complaint about that is when Monica comes out of the hex and they're like, oh, she has kids now. And he's like, yes, Hayward is like, yes, but are they her kids? Monica flat out says everything in the hex is real. But as we saw in the end of the episode, they cannot exist without the hex. So were they ever, I mean, quote unquote, they were real, but were they ever real?
I think that's what she's trying to figure out, like in her little cabin with the book. I think she's trying to figure out how to make them real and permanent.
Right. Yeah. Does Monica imply that everything inside the hex, while inside the hex, is real?
Or is she just saying when it closes, they'll still be there? Because that's what I gathered from what she said.
At first I did. At first I thought that that's exactly what she was implying, that everything that was created inside, that like the life that she created inside the hex was real, but then they quickly showed that once Vision started to try to leave, his body started disintegrating. At that point I knew the kids were done for. Now, it's interesting about the kids when Wanda turns and looks at her children and says, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mother."
The words choosing is interesting.
Yeah. So, in the comics in Rio, you might be able to speak to this a little bit better than I am, but their souls, once they become part of, is it Mephisto again, or is it the Grim Reaper that they become a part of?
No, Mephisto.
Their souls,
I think it's the same.
Leave, and they go inhabit other bodies, which then end up growing up to be Wiccan and Speed. So was she insinuating I pulled souls in from outside the hex, and these two souls chose to play my little game with me for a little while, and those souls were then released when her kids left, and that's what she's hearing. Those souls inhabited other bodies after they left. She's up her doing her little magic finger glowy things, and she hears those souls crying for help, because maybe as they were floating around, Mephisto plucked them out of existence and is trying to absorb the chaos power that might have imbued those souls as they left.
And
is
Vision
there anything
also
to do with the memory?
No. Not Vision.
Is there anything to do with memory the memory of the kids have memory, so technically they have souls. They don't have a body anymore, but just like how, even though Wanda couldn't feel Vision being there when it was just his head on the table, technically the WandaVision gave that Vision his memories back, which were already in there. So the memories are the souls, and yeah, Mum, help us. Could be Mephisto going, oh, there's the things, and I'm gonna grab them for my own thing. So I don't that could be cool, and that's something that would be awesome to see, in Multiverse of Madness, because that would. But what's interesting to me, and just quickly, and I'll just get quick reaction. Were you guys upset or expected that those kids wouldn't age further? Because I was like, during this episode, they're going to age again. They'll be like teenagers and be able to like kick ass as well. But were you thinking that, oh no, they would stay? Yeah, okay.
I thought they would age up for the final battle.
I didn't really
I
think
thought
about
they'd
it
stay.
in advance, but I was fine with how it went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one of those.
The reason I thought they go ahead.
That was just one of those ones where I was like, if it happens, great, I'll love it. You know, they can establish some actors that they'll use later on down the road, a la Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop kind of thing. Like, they're setting up young Avengers. We already know that that's what they're doing. But I was also
that's
fine
the thing
with
that
them
I was
not
interested with them coming back, to have to, and this is from a filmmaking point of view, to have to rehire the kids for like part of the next movie until they age themselves, because none of the young Avengers characters are 10 years old, unless
can they only age up?
Are actually that age?
Age down? Like,
are Wiccan and Speed children, not teenagers in the comics?
They were only aging up. They were only aging up in the Hex. I don't think they're going to have that ability after after they leave the Hex.
No, but when we see them again, it's interesting that they didn't age up in the Hex, and that we saw the teenage versions the next time we see them.
See, but here's the thing: is when we see the teenage versions in the comics, they were born and raised from someone else. And then it's not until they make the connection that they're like, oh my gosh, we're Wiccan and Speed, this is happening. And then they remember Wanda when Wanda finds them from like an energy connection type thing. So they could easily have the teenage actors be teenagers. And then when it comes to making the connection, I don't think they'll need to film new scenes with the kids. They could always just show, you know, like when Speed runs up and he's got the sword, hat, and sunglasses on, and like almost like a flashback scene, and make the connection that way. I don't think
or maybe they've already filmed it, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I just thought about was what you were just saying about their souls kind of just being out there somewhere. Maybe that's where Doctor Strange is. And maybe he's got a hold on that, and maybe he's taking care of that power and those souls right now, and that's why he didn't appear in the show. I mean, that's kind of an out there theory, but it's just something I thought of.
And this is also getting back to my Easter eggs aren't real. If we keep thinking about that and then it doesn't happen, we're like, oh.
See, and I wanted to jump
back
to
I mean, I don't have that many expectations.
The thank you for choosing me statement. The thank you for choosing me to be your mom. Because there's something that Quicksilver says that caught my attention is, where were you keeping all these kids? Did she, on the Halloween episode. So did she manifest all those kids after Vision pointed out that there were no other kids in Westview? And if that's the case,
no, because
let's say she made all those kids randomly.
Her daughter's been sleeping.
Yeah, but Dottie's kid wasn't out for Halloween. These are just a bunch of random other kids. So if she manifested, let's say, random number, 30 kids, 2 of those kids would have needed to choose Wanda to be their mom, which I think is kind of where that line would have come from, because where did the rest of those kids come from? She could have just made them from nothing.
Yeah, that's the other thing with having another episode similar to the behind the scenes of what's happening on the outside of the Hex. We should have had an episode of what's happening inside the Hex, with how conscious the townsfolk are like no, we can't have this discussion. She'll do something, but also it's weird having that kind of discussion anyway, because how did they know to play along when Wanda wasn't being nefarious about anything? But then we discovered that it was because it's not nice that she was doing that. Everybody should have just been like playing along, but now the world's changing. But then now, like half, like half controlled, half like having free will. But it would have been good to see that, to see where those kids were, to see, yeah, exactly. And with the
hanging
tear.
the decoration with the tear running down her face, like they were in pain and they were having trouble, and
yeah,
like,
and then the fact that further out they're all frozen. Why were they frozen? Like there's definitely questions that weren't asked, weren't answered.
Yeah, like a render distance. So like wherever she is the source, but then the further out you go, it may trickle out to them, but you don't get the full rendering like in a video game. Like render distance, where you're standing is beautiful, but as you get further out, you don't get as much. So she may have been
but
forced
then that
to
was
move.
broken with the circus. The circus was completely on the edge,
which is what I was talking about the last
further than the edge that ever existed, because they were outside the hex, so it's further away from the center of town, or further away from the house if you're doing it that way. The circus should have been frozen as soon as they appeared, or we just didn't see that everybody that was frozen is now moving because she's expanded it, so now
spread it out.
But it's still how do we
that might have just been one of those
power?
details that they were. Yeah, that might have been a detail that they really didn't think mattered that much, and I think that was something I'm letting go of a little bit. That there are some details that just didn't matter. I hate it because I want everything to add up and make sense.
Yeah.
She had to pause everybody around her. So basically, she took all of her attention that was being focused on all of the characters she was manipulating around her. All of those people paused so she could handle everything on the outside of town. That's what.
Yeah.
That's how she ended up handling that. So, and then the next time you see, all of those kids are gone. It's back to your same few players kind of thing. So she's still able to keep some focus out there on the outskirts of town because she turned all those other people off. They're off the show for a while, just like Vision's boss, who was in one episode and never came back for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But that's a really good
and I still kind of
doctor.
think
Yeah,
that
like,
Mr. Hart, even the name is still weird to me. Like why that was even connected, why that was even is that our anniversary? Like, it's the first thing that they talk about. That couldn't have just been because that's the name of his boss.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's
and I'm just thinking now, the heart from the map.
Yeah. Because they say everything in the hex is changed from something that already exists. So if she drops that piece of paper with the heart on it could turn into something else. Because I don't think that's actually their anniversary at all.
No.
I don't think
they had an anniversary.
Yeah.
No,
so
they were never married.
That piece of paper would have turned into the.
That would be awesome. I would have loved to have seen that calendar turn into the
deed to that property. Yeah.
We would have gone, oh, that's why there was a heart. It was just a random occurrence on that spot. Because that's cool. That's cool. Rio's frozen.
Oh no!
Oh no! Rio's frozen again.
Can we hear?
On a fantastic image too. Poor
And you can't see her hand, but she's like doing this as well. Just had a massive power surge. That's crazy because I've got a storm right where I am, and we're starting to get thunder. So, Rio, I really hope
that you guys are really close to each other now.
I really hope, somehow. Different countries,
we still have a
super
lot
close.
To cover. Do we need to do a part 2 here, Justin?
Maybe.
This is a big show to get into.
It's a huge show. So what we'll do?
A lot of emotions to process.
We will it is a shame that Rio's not in. Hopefully, you can still hear us. But we probably will leave it there. for this episode. We have done a decent. Oh no, it's Grogu again. How's it going, Grogu?
Oh no.
She's probably doing a quit and then reopen. Let's just wait. Let's just wait. Let's see what happens.
Stick my head in front of it.
I love it. Anyway, but I think it'd be totally okay if we picked it up on a you're there. Okay, so are you able to jump back in, or do you think we'll just say goodbye and then we'll see if we can pick it up? Maybe even another day this week. We'll try to figure it out because it would be really great to figure out a way to just keep talking about it, because there's so much to talk about, and a 2-part episode will not be a bad thing. Last week, we did the first half of our discussion on the finale of WandaVision. It actually included, like, a lot of the show. But then we got to the end and we're like, you know what? We need to keep talking. So without further ado, we're going to keep talking about WandaVision. It's been a couple of days. It's been a couple of days. I already kind of forget most of it. So, Spring and Zach, do you remember the show, or have you like forgotten as much as I have?
Previously on Nerds of the Round Table.
Yeah. Well, I watched the assembled behind the scenes show just today, so that did remind me of a lot of the things about WandaVision. But I think I'm at the point now, after being a whole week from the finale, where it's kind of just all become the Bible of what it was. And it's no longer something to be torn apart, and it's just something to be appreciated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was really cool watching how they came up
you
with
say
the
that though,
idea
but
and
they're already trolling us with more stuff, right? They're already dropping nuggets now that they're allowed to start speaking about things, but they're speaking about them in code. They're saying things like, yes, Jimmy Woo's informant will be witness will be a factor down the road. We can't tell you when,
so excited
but
to know
wait,
that, because
stand
the
by.
idea of that just being gone made me so upset. But you guys have to tell me a little more about what you've read since last week, because I don't read all these kinds of articles like you do. So, yeah.
There was just a great interview with the director, Mark Shackman, with Kevin Smith, and he spilled all kinds of beans on that thing. Like he really didn't hold back, which I thought was shocking. Frankly, I felt like Kevin Smith was holding back more than he was on asking him some of these questions, so he didn't get him in trouble more than anything.
Yeah. No, I actually am a little bit disappointed in myself that I didn't watch that. I saw nuggets of information that have come out of that, but I'm really surprised with myself that I haven't watched it, and I didn't watch it straight away, because normally I would have. But I don't know, and this is an aside, I've kind of felt like I haven't watched as many Fat Man Beyond podcasts since COVID, because they haven't been at the cantina, so I just haven't really felt like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so but they have released a bunch of information, like Jimmy's in witness protection person will be announced, the fact that they did have a lot more story between Jimmy, Monica, and Darcy, yes, in the finale, but had to all be deleted, or it was left on the cutting room floor or something, because
I want to see that footage so badly.
Yeah. So the finale, I'm pretty sure, was shot during COVID time. The images that I've seen, everyone's wearing masks. So they would have like stopped filming and then had a break, then gone back to start shooting again to finish the show. That would have been an issue, to try to keep people there, to deal with quarantine, to deal with all of that mess that COVID does to existing shows that are currently shooting. Falcon Winter Soldier, same thing happened to that. But I'm curious to see how it would actually work for that show, if it's noticeably good at the start and then it just falls apart because they weren't able to do pickups, they weren't be able to like do the proper shoot. So I'm wondering if it'll actually be good. I'm hoping so.
They really, they did what they could with the hand that they were dealt. It sucks, frankly, because there were problems that some people had with the series by the time it ended, And it sounds like they were planning on some of this stuff and they had to kind of retrofit an ending in there because of COVID. And you didn't know that going into it. But even
No.
one of the things that really stood out to me that I didn't even notice, now I can't not see it. But at the end of the finale, Wanda is talking to Monica and says, "I don't understand this power, but I will." That scene is digitally recreated. Her face is digitally recreated to deliver that line. And so and now once you know that, it's very clear that that's the case. And so it really makes you start wondering where were they going to go? We know that Senor Scratchy did play a much major role in the ending than what they
That's another
showed,
example
than
of
what they were
something
able
that
to
they
do.
cut.
Yeah, it just bums me out that we lost probably some really great television, some great Marvel, some great, cinematic history on Disney Plus because of COVID, because of restrictions and things they had to cut for time. They finished the series finale 2 weeks before it aired. That's like amazing that they were able to pull that off.
Sandy,
So do you think the stories that we lost from the changes that they had to make will still come out, or you think that they're just gone? Those stories are abandoned.
I think they're abandoned for now, but I could see them applying things. Deleted scenes are not canon. You can't call them canon, but they can repurpose that stuff down the road if they want to, a la Jimmy's Witness. Now that may have been planned from the beginning. That I don't know, and that's part of the trolling thing that is still going on.
I believe it wasn't. I have to believe that was cut for time, because it wasn't required, but scenes that we didn't get with like Senor Scratchy, him turning into a demon and having Monica and the boys having a fight.
Yes.
Yeah, that was written.
Okay.
You know this, Justin, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They started shooting it, or they did shoot it, but then they
shot it.
didn't finish any of the visual effects. They didn't actually put it into the show, probably because it would have taken too long. They had to take things out, probably like that, to hit the release date. They were also saying that they wanted to release the first 3 episodes up front. Now, that makes sense because the first 3 episodes were released to critics. So they saw the first 3, we saw the first 2, and we had to wait the extra week to see that third one, which it would have been way better to see the first 3 up front, because it's the first act of the story. Sorry?
Yeah, there were a lot of people that I know who kind of quit after those first 2 episodes because they just couldn't get into it, and I had to push a couple of my friends to be like, "Keep going. Come on, you gotta keep going."
I've heard that a lot lately, like people that are just even trying, because now that it's over, there's still people in the binge watching camp that now that it's over, they're going back and now they're going to watch all of them. And I've seen people on social media talk about those first couple episodes. I don't understand that. I loved the first 2 episodes, but I know it's not for everybody, and maybe it was just because maybe for whatever reason the people that loved those episodes, maybe we understood what they were trying to do. I don't know. I don't get it. Everybody has their reasons.
Anything they were doing, I just like the aesthetic of them.
Somebody on my social media said that they didn't understand the laugh track. Why are they using a laugh track? I was like, do you not grasp the concept of what? First of all, it's not a laugh track. Like, it's a live studio audience, and they should be applauded for that live studio audience that they put in there. And that was one of the coolest things about that behind the scenes video was how authentic they made those first couple episodes. Like, but even from all the way from the crew to the seats that they were sitting in.
Yeah, the crew, the seats, the costumes that the crew were wearing, and the costumes that the audience were wearing. Everyone was like really getting way on board with it, which was really fun.
Right.
Yeah, I loved hearing the director talk about meeting with Dick Van Dyke and just understanding the process of using those old films, or the old ways that they film television. I mean, the old shows, like kind of recreating that. And, in that assembled show, they spent a lot of time talking about that sort of feeling. And then they talked about the theme songs. And that was just such a fun part of all of the show, was creating those those period theme songs for it.
I didn't even
which makes
realize
you
while
just
watching the
so
show and listening
glad.
to the themes that the ding, 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 ding was on
The
every episode. I didn't
WandaVision.
actually
Yeah.
connect to that, which was awesome to see.
There were a
That
couple
was
little things
that was
like
really
that that
awesome.
I missed in the show that I saw from watching that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Well,
that music. Again, I said this on our previous episode. If there are not Emmys or Golden Globes almost all across the board for this show, then what is it even for? Like that.
Yeah.
The music was outstanding. The performances by Catherine Hahn
Oh,
and
Catherine
Elizabeth
Hahn.
Olsen are
Incredible.
phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The writing, the lines that they gave Vision to say peppered throughout were amazing. It's
Brilliant.
some of the best
still
writing you've heard on
perfectly on
TV.
character. It's on brand
Yeah,
for
and
every single
and it's
one of those
perfect for
characters.
him. Yeah. And I mean, bravo, just bravo to
I
everybody
loved
involved.
Paul
It was so
Bettany's little
good.
story about how he ended up with the part in the first place. How Jon Favreau called him and was like, I need the most boring. plainest British voice you can possibly do. And so I thought of you, Paul. And I liked that little flashback to that. And now it's like he's just this character is so amazing. Their love story in this show was phenomenal. Like there's been some love stories in the MCU, like Thor and what's her name? Jane.
What's her name?
That I don't believe at all. Like I still don't ship that love story. But Wanda and Vision, you can't help but just feel such a connection with them.
Yeah.
And the strength of that. And it's so beautiful, even though it's so tragic and sad, but there's still like grains of hope in there. And this series just brought all of that back out. And, no one's really dead till you see them bleed from the head, right? Isn't that what you always tell me?
That's what I've told you. Yep.
We didn't see those boys bleed from the head. We didn't see Vision bleed from the head.
I mean, Zach, you've got a theory about them as well.
I'm sorry, about who?
About the boys. About the end when
boys.
when they're told goodnight. Yeah.
We go back to the comics and this is true for most of the MCU. They never 100% take a story right out of whatever story they're referencing. So in this case, there's a lot of references to the House of M comic book. And one of the things that I feel like they're hinting at, especially with the end coda, was the boys you hear them calling out for help while she's researching, doing her magical finger thing, and in the spiritual realm there. Okay, so in the comics, the spirits of the boys, the souls of the boys, are reinvested back into Mephisto, and there was one line that I still find odd, where Wanda turns to the boys just as she knows they're getting ready to be removed from her reality and says, "Thank you for choosing me to be your mom." And on the surface of that, you could see it just being kind of poetic and whatever. But it seemed maybe there may be something else under the surface of that. And could it have been, in order to create life, did Wanda reach out through whatever reality, realm, multiverse you want to call it, and pull in wandering souls, right? And then use those to infuse the boys to create the life that she created. And basically, by turning and telling them that she knew those souls were going to be released. Now, did those souls get released out into the ether, and Mephisto or whatever Marvel demon they want to pull from at this point? It could be Nightmare, could be anybody. But did they grab those souls out of that particular ether, right? Absorb them, hoping that would then imbue them with the Scarlet Witch's chaos powers. That was the whole reason why they were created in the first place in the comics, was a conduit to transfer those chaos powers. I'm wondering if that doesn't play into a little bit into Doctor Strange, if not into, Spider-Man. Because again, there are theories, rumors that Benedict Cumberbatch will be in Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man. There are theories and rumors that Peter Parker will be in the next Doctor Strange. And so I feel like these movies are all kind of connected. And I feel like these are all our Earth-based kind of connected story, almost like little mini sagas. And I go back, Feige mentioned this at the end of the current phase that they were done with Endgame, was instead of doing one big epic, 30 movie whatever thing like they did with the Infinity saga, they're going to do more short story like forms. And I feel like this introduction of WandaVision was our gateway into that short story form. And realistic, what's really funny is that it's out of context now. It's out of time, because you had Far From Home, which was really they called it the end of phase 3.
Yeah.
They called that one the end of phase 3, but since it takes place after WandaVision, there are connecting threads from WandaVision, right? So it's almost like it was the end of 3, but it was kind of
Is there
also the
anyone
beginning.
You could jump straight into
Far
the
From
fact that
Home who was in WandaVision?
No,
Sorry.
but they already start talking about the multiverse in WandaVision,
Yes.
even though it's turns out to be a
Did
little
they talk
fake.
about it?
They did, because that's where help me out. Mysterio says he comes from, and all of the demons that he's fighting, all the entities that
in
he's
Far
fighting.
From Home, yes, they talk
Far
about the
From Home.
multiverse a lot in Far
Yeah.
From Home. You said in WandaVision, and I was like, they don't talk about the multiverse
Oh,
in
did I?
WandaVision.
I'm sorry.
Except we talk about it because we're talking about Pietro, and we're like, where did he come from, and is that a multiverse kind of incident? His being there at all?
But they're
yeah.
they're
No, I
they're
know that
leaning. Yeah, they're leaning into Multiverse of Madness, though. Like, we know they literally put it in the darn title. Like, it's a thing, right? Yeah. And so we and with these connected threads, you start wondering, okay, so Wanda came first, then Far From Home, then what's the next Spider-Man movie called? At this point, I've been trolled so much I can't even remember what the name of it is.
Long Way Home.
No Way Home.
No Way
No
Home.
Way
I was
Home.
like, you can't go home.
So yeah, so I feel like continuity wise, you're gonna see it be WandaVision, Far From Home, No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness. I feel like that's gonna end up being our continuity, almost leading into everything. I don't know which releases first. I feel like Spider-Man releases at the end of this year, and then Doctor Strange is next.
Doctor Strange is
remember,
2022, definitely.
Takes place.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But that's
I don't.
we don't know when these movies take place.
We're guessing, but keep in mind, Multiverse of Madness was supposed to be in theaters right now, and it got delayed for a year. And so
I would never have even gone to see it if all of this hadn't happened.
So now, continuity wise, with Spider-Man coming out in December or November, does it come after, or does it come before, like they did with Far From Home and WandaVision?
Was WandaVision supposed to come out before Far From Home?
Actually,
it wasn't supposed to come out for in continuity. WandaVision takes place before Far From Home,
which when Monica wakes up from the blip or comes back, but but was it supposed to have been released before it?
No.
Okay, WandaVision, I mean, before. Okay,
right. No, but just remember that
what the plan
Captain Marvel was set in the 90s. And that's a phase 3 film. So don't worry about chronologically the way that they fit. So you can have a phase 3 film set after a phase 4 story.
The scene that we see of Fury up on the sword ship at the end of Far From Home.
Or the ship. We assumed back in the day.
No, it said on the little thing, sword headquarters in space or something.
Yeah, there was no thing written on the screen.
I thought it said it on the screen, like at the bottom.
No.
It's been a few weeks since I've seen that. But do we know what film that's in? Because usually it's a scene from a film, isn't it?
It can be both. They've done both. They've done a straight coda for that particular movie, and then they've done codas that are also kind of in a la Thor. Ragnarok, where you saw a snippet of that scene, right? And it was that was even heavily edited around and stuff. You didn't get the full story that was in Thor. So there's elements of that kind of thing.
I was just wondering if that was supposed to be from a movie, like there's someone who wants to see you, to Monica.
That's
like,
totally Fury.
Is that about to come up? Is that about to happen?
That's totally Fury.
There. So is that actually a clip from the next Captain Marvel movie?
No, it's definitely not a clip from a future movie. I remember at the end of Ant-Man, there was a clip from Captain America Civil War. Was it Civil War or was it Winter Soldier? I always get them mixed up.
Which one? Which, are you talking about the clip where his arm is caught in the thing?
Yes.
And they're talking to him? That was Civil War is when that happened.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that was actually a clip from Civil War in Ant-Man. And no, this isn't a clip from a future movie. This is part of this movie. But it's like, where will it fit? How is it going to, what's it going to be like going forward? But the only thing that makes sense is that Fury's chilling out, and then who knows who might be like 7 meters that way. It could be Monica. Monica then could be walking over into him and goes, "Found your shoes." Because she's like, "Where am I?" Like, well, he says, "I need my shoes," because he doesn't have his shoes.
So they don't give us a thing that says space or anything like that. What they do is they show you, they pan and they show you he's in space.
Yeah.
They pan out a viewport and you can see that he's in space.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about sword. But back in the day, we assumed that it was sword because that's what people were connecting to. It's like, oh, this is like, it's a sword thing. And then WandaVision came out. That's a sword thing. This isn't sword. This is completely separate. So where Fury is got nothing to do with sword. Because that's a scroll thing.
I still disagree with that.
Scrolls,
I disagree with that. I'll be curious
because
to see.
Then I don't think that Fury would be working with Hayward. I don't think the Skrulls are working with Hayward. I don't think
but sword is not
Fury is up with sword
at all in Far From Home, right? Like sword doesn't exist in Far From Home. Okay.
No.
Well,
they
I feel like
pretending to be Shield, I believe, if throughout Far From Home, right?
But that isn't really Fury, which we find out at the end.
Right.
So
it's Talos.
I actually don't even think that it's Shield. I think it's just Fury being Fury. With
I think it's just Fury. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
He trusts because after the blip, and he go. He was blipped as well. So he's come back. That's right. He's come back and he knows nothing.
Right.
He knows nothing. So all of the information that Fury knew, he's like, there's the line in Far From Home where it's like, I used to have my eye on everything, my fingers in pies or whatever it was. But now I know nothing because it's been 5 years and everything's changed. So I don't think that's neither sword nor shield. I think it's just Fury and a bunch of people trying to stop the elementals. No, it's not Hydra. It's not Hydra.
I thought that was
But that's another thing. There was a story that came out today saying, hey, Kevin, will Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. come back? And he said, look at precedent from the comics. They do come back. They go away. They come back. They go away. So who knows? Who knows?
I have a feeling that they won't. They're good guys and bad guys.
I don't want them to. Yeah.
They just like to change the name.
There's lots of stories. Lots of things.
But are we ever going to get the founding of S.W.O.R.D. story? Like, we kind of got hints about it, but like,
I don't know.
I would like
I don't know if you, I think you might get little bits of it, right? So like you saw, you saw Stark's father and you saw, Peggy, and you see like little glimpses of them,
S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they may treat it the same way, where through flashbacks to help set up a story at the beginning, that opening, cold open kind of thing. Like here's,
that was season 3 of Agent Carter that I never got to see.
Yeah, here's the intro. Here's Monica or not Monica, but
Maria.
What's her mom's name? Maria. Here's
Maria.
Maria
Yeah.
and somebody else having a meeting about some specific thing that they have to figure out what that was about, and then that is the story of whatever, could be. I don't think that they would do this, but it could be leading into like Shang-Chi and the movie there. Like they could have something to have to do with the Mandarin or something like that, and they kind of lead into that. Like Shield or Sword was watching, although he wouldn't. Yeah, no, that's mystical. They would be kind of watching that, right? Wasn't Sword
AI. Sword was doing more AI
Sword
kind
wouldn't
of
be
stuff,
doing anything
like,
mystically.
unless they
what
thought
was
it
their
was
division
like
for? They were
Well,
they
I thought it
were
was
she did
space.
say
They
that
were
the
space
name
exploration.
artificial
changed.
intelligence.
Well, the
That's after
sentient
Blip.
weapons
Oh, okay.
was
Yeah, sentient weapons.
yeah, but that's the
SW,
new name.
sentient weapons.
The original name wasn't sentient weapons. I don't remember if it was mentioned in the if it was mentioned in the show.
He's
Sword
walking through. They
acronym.
after the Blip, they moved over to that AI scenario.
Sentient
We're
World Observation and Response Department. So it's not sentient
Gotcha.
weapons something. Yeah. So they changed up the name, I think, since the Blip.
Yeah.
Because in the 5 years, Vision was probably at Sword headquarters for that time for some reason. Because we spoke about this, but I'm still not super happy that Vision's body didn't go straight to Avengers headquarters, or honestly was essentially buried in Wakanda.
I don't know why it didn't go back to Wakanda at all. Like,
I'm
of
saying
the
because of
people
the
who could
vibranium.
actually do something with Vision,
Yeah.
like it should have gone back to Wakanda. He should have been in Wakanda.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But
So,
maybe
but then
we'll
they were
find out
like,
more
we
about
can't
that
do
in Black
anything.
Panther 2. Like, we do have
Maybe.
other movies coming out.
But we don't want the movies
And
just to explain why something in another movie didn't happen.
yeah, but it might be a quick explanation. Like
Maybe.
they might just touch on it, or there more than one Vision. Like they were obviously working on another Vision. Maybe they weren't the only ones working on another Vision.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? But that's
The
what we
idea of
might
bringing him
see.
back was probably pretty appealing to a lot of different people and places.
Mm.
I don't know. I just don't know
wanna-
how. I don't know how Captain America prevents that. How Captain America doesn't stop that from happening. That's what I don't get. I don't understand. I don't know how Cap goes. Yeah, you go ahead and take that body. You go right ahead. Like,
Yeah.
no, because at the time he's kind of like nomad, and he's not like playing by their rules anyway. Like he doesn't.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many other pieces to pick up and all that. I just don't see. I don't see them.
Was Wanda
handing.
snapped?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't
Yeah.
see. He's a fallen comrade. I don't see him allowing Sword, even if. Well, no, because I was going to say even if Maria was in charge, but she wasn't because she was sick with cancer in a hospital at the time, so she wasn't
That was
even
later,
around.
though.
Yeah, but the minute Vision died, though, like while that little time, she was still sick
exactly.
in the hospital.
Yeah, she was.
I
she
just don't-
came out of surgery.
Yeah, I don't see. I just again those are some of the logical leaps that my brain can't process and say. You know, it's those kinds of things that I have problems with throughout the series in general. But does it keep me from completely enjoying the heck out of it? Absolutely not. I loved this series. Yeah. There were just problems with it, and I don't know if these problems were created because what we started talking about and it was time that they had to cut due to COVID and the pandemic and everything like that, or if they were literally just like, they don't need to worry about that. I feel like there was a lot of we don't need to worry about that instead of time issues.
So how much of this
Which
becomes
the benefit
canon
of the
and how much
MCU
of
that
it
they
is like?
can do that.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Who said what?
Yeah, go on. Oh, I was asking how much of what we saw in WandaVision becomes canon because it isn't a movie; it's a TV show.
All of it is.
Oh,
so
100%
all of it is canon now. Okay,
yeah,
I was just sure how that works with things that are kind of outside of the normal realm, but they haven't done a series that was canon before, have they?
No.
Okay.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon light.
Yeah. Basically,
I can't
anything
get
that's
through
made
it.
by Marvel Studios under Kevin Feige
Okay.
is canon. So
Yeah.
WandaVision is the first canon MCU show. There are shows that are set in the MCU, but I don't think they are canon. I consider Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Runaways, the other one. There's so many. There's a bunch of them that
Cloak and Dagger. They have
Cloak and Dagger is the
they
one that I
they
was thinking of.
yeah they yeah.
Inhumans, and
You
all
shall
the
never speak that
Netflix
name
Marvel
again.
shows, Daredevil, Jessica Jones,
Right.
Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I don't think any of them are canon.
But it's
I don't
but it's
consider
weird
any of them
because
canon. It's set
like
in
it's
the universe, but that's like fan fiction set in the universe. I don't consider it canon.
It's weird though, because if you look at like what's being said here, Agent Carter is so close to being canon. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing in there that is not that doesn't feel like it's not canon. You have the introduction of Jarvis, who you then see in Endgame. You have Agent Carter, who obviously is a canon character. There are elements there. Stark's father, and that time frame of what he was doing during the. I just feel like there's so many things that are canon. They have Feige, the MCU has written themselves a get out of jail free card on a lot of this stuff by introducing the multiverse at some point going forward. They can now cherry pick what they want to be canon and not canon, or that's our MCU Prime timeline versus this is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. timeline. This is the Daredevil time. Because again, I still feel like we're going to see Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Fingers
and
crossed,
that then makes Daredevil potentially canon, or because again, you're bringing in the actor that was in there, which was the same problem everybody had with Evan Peters being thrown in there. Was wait a minute, what is this? How are you doing? What are you telling us something very important here by doing this? No, he's just what. Here's the thing. I want to talk about Evan Peters real quick. Real quick. He was being controlled by the necklace. He was being controlled by Agatha. And I feel like, Spring, you brought this up on the last episode. He still had powers. And I wonder if we had gotten the scene because the scene that was cut with Senior Scratchy, he basically evolves into like there's like a American werewolf in London kind of moment where he like forms into this big evil creature and chases the boys, Monica, and whatever his name is, Boner, out of
Pietro.
they went into Agatha's basement to retrieve the Darkhold. That was the scene they cut, and then the rabbit shows up to protect it. And then they start chasing him. Does Evan Peters at that point, were we going to get a glimpse of Evan Peters still showing powers at that point, going through that? Because why would Boner go down there with them to help retrieve anything at that point? What's his involvement at that? He's saying, don't kill me.
Yeah, his whole fear thing leads me to believe there's something else going on with him that's more than just
and he had
was some
powers,
actor in town. Yeah,
like that necklace was controlling him. I just don't understand how that.
Spying. She did say like his eyes were my eyes or something like that.
Yeah,
where it was like
I just don't.
She was able to see what he could see.
But he he could, he literally with the flick of his fast finger was able to knock Monica all the way back across the room.
That was a weird moment because then it didn't happen again. I didn't understand how he was able to flick her across the room.
I'm guessing it was just the speed in which that force was projected at her that it was able to shoot it. I didn't really think much about it other than the fact that he had powers, showed that he had powers but in the super speed realm, and then they took the necklace off, and then we're just supposed to think that all that, like, that necklace did everything, gave him powers, gave him whatever. And I just don't know. I feel like I'm still constantly being trolled by the MCU over this. I'm still analyzing every freaking frame of that show, and it's over, and it was a Boner joke, and we shouldn't be analyzing it. But
yeah,
they all of a sudden they just drop this little. They'll have an interview and they'll drop a little nugget that makes you question your your thought process and going, okay, it was just a joke. But then they drop a little nugget and then go, well, we may not have seen the last of Evan Peters in the MCU. And you're like, wait, what? You know,
don't
and
say that.
that's what but that's what Jack said. And I'm just like, how does she say that? And then again, all of the crazy fan theorists out there aren't just heads exploding and connecting the dots. And it's like that meme, you know, like everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I still think, based on what I said last week, it's that Easter eggs aren't real, aren't the story. So you shouldn't
but
connect all the Easter eggy kind of things
then.
that are in the show or in the story to being actual things. It's purely designed to be fun for the audience between episodes. So I'm looking forward to seeing Falcon Winter Soldier and watching the show and going, okay, this is an Easter egg. Cool. It's not going to be continued through. But then again, that's what foreshadowing and payoff in story is all about. So it should absolutely be that.
I disagree with that idea. I think that's lazy writing. I think you can get creative, but you have to fit it all together. Having Easter eggs that are dead ends, that's to me is disappointing. I don't want
Agreed. No, absolutely agreed. But I have been let down from WandaVision that I can't
What's your letdowns?
Going forward.
Like what? Where are your letdowns? Evan Peters is your letdown?
No, so all of the little things that were connected. So the commercials, they didn't really need to be there. I didn't understand that, and this is also something that was announced from one of the people in the show, is that the two people that she cast as the people in the ads were townsfolk. So I would have liked to see them at the end when they were all like in the town square when she like released everyone. I would have liked to see that couple come up, because then we would have been like, oh, they're townsfolk. Oh, okay, they're just people that were there, but we didn't.
It's so simple, and that's again that was what I went back to the White Vision thing, where it's very simple excuses or scenes or pieces of dialogue that help excuse issues like that, where again nobody references White Vision at the end of that. The last thing Wanda sees is her man flying off to go fight her old man, right?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's just there, and it's like, what happened to him? That is never ever discussed about anything, and that could have easily been explained away with
himself. But
but that's not the point, though, Spring. It's that's never discussed in the show, and that's a major moment. Like, that was a major problem for her in that, and they even make reference to it, like, there's your boyfriend with your ex, what are you gonna do, like, which one are you gonna choose, kind of thing, right? Like, they make a major point of that, just like they made a major point of that stupid rabbit the entire time. They made major points of these things. These aren't Easter eggs. These are major story components that they teased, that they laid on thicker than tar, that had no payoff. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't, like you said, Spring, I don't know if that's lazy. It's not, I don't even know if it's lazy writing. I know some of these things could be excused away with time. They didn't have time because of the pandemic to get it in. There was supposed to be 10 episodes. They had to drill it down to 9. Like, that's another thing. And so you had another episode in there, potentially another giant exposition episode that maybe answered a lot of these questions. But just like the people in the commercials, that's explained away by them panning around as some of the townsfolk are still walking out of their homes, looking around after the hex is gone. They're just there. You don't have to acknowledge it. You just kind of pan the camera by, and you're like, oh, just like Tony Stark's funeral at the end of Endgame. There's a random kid standing there, but that's like a major moment for anybody that saw Iron Man 3, and they're like, oh, that's the kid from Iron Man 3. He's all grown up. You didn't have to flat out acknowledge that's who that was. You didn't have to have, somebody walk up to him and go, oh, you're the kid. No, you just kind of pan the camera by and keep moving. They could have done that with these guys, but they didn't. They chose not to. They chose to leave these things unresolved. Why? Maybe we won't find out for 10 years. Who knows? I mean, we may not see White Vision again for 10 years.
Well,
I mean, that's a realistic thing.
Let's talk about White Vision. So the expectations of that character being introduced in the second last episode, and then like truly he was introduced in the second last episode at the end of the second last episode, and then for the final episode he was there to what was Hayward's plan at the start? Was it to bring Vision back to stop Wanda? No. It was to bring Vision back just because he needed to, because he needed his sentient weapon back. That was a quote.
He didn't
from
want to
Monica.
bring him back. He said his mission was to kill the Vision. And
Yeah,
also
Vision's-
to kill
Yeah.
Wanda.
So, but
He had
exactly. So that's
two
why
missions.
Vision's mission was that. But
Yeah.
why? But why? Is it so there can be only one? Like what
I
was
think so.
Hayward's actual reason for doing that? In the story,
because he
why
said
did
it. No, he said it in the
even-
story.
What?
He said
Yeah,
that as
he
soon
wanted-
as he realized that Vision was in there, he
Yeah.
wanted to make it so that Vision went in, killed him, and then came out. And then there was a Vision again, and then it was okay for Vision to exist again. So
It
he was
a
trying
messy
to like
excuse.
trick everyone into having Vision re-exist, and then he'd be able to use him as a weapon again.
Yeah.
That's why
So
he didn't
he
get
did- he did
approvals.
explain it.
and-
Yeah,
that's why he
it
didn't
was
get
kind of a secret
approvals.
that
And
he had the white Vision.
Yeah.
it's a
now-
messy excuse.
Yeah. But then
But
we
now
get
we don't
into
know where he is.
instead of it being this massive, awesome fight that could have gone on to like the death of either of them, it turned into a philosophical discussion, which was
Which is
probably
really
my
kind of
favorite part of the
fun
show, which was the thought experiment of the ship of Theseus. Now, I thought that was genius, but just as a silly aside, if you're as smart and capable as what the White Vision is and should be, why doesn't he already know about the ship of Theseus? Why
He
doesn't
does. He
that
says,
just?
"I know of it,"
But exactly. So
but he
how
hadn't
does he know
theorized
about it,
about
but not
himself?
act on it before? Like I don't. It's
Because he was
it's
he was like
twins that
basically
are having the
told in
same
his program
conversation
that that's Vision.
and they're answering the same things.
Spring's right. He is basically a controlled shell of Vision. The White Vision is a controlled shell of Vision. He has no thoughts but what he's been told to go do. And so Wanda's vision is breaking through that barrier by making him think. He knows that those thoughts are buried in there. He knows that those suppressed memories aren't wiped. They're still in there, and he knows. So he knows part of himself is still in there. He just has to figure out a way to crack that code, and that was the easiest, as quickly as he came up with it too. That just shows how awesome Vision is. But that was the quick way to get through there and say, this is what I would need myself to think about to snap me out of something.
Yeah,
And
like
and so he
knew
used
that
it.
Vision was able to have that argument, that discussion, and that it was going to give him pause because that's himself.
Mhm.
Where if he had a directive and this was what he was told to do, interrupting that program by coming up with a reason why you're not executing it the way you should be was a way to get him to stop, slow down enough for him to be like, let's see what you've got in there and let's get your memories back so that you understand what's going on right here.
But then he got
And
his
so
memories
that
back,
was like the
and see ya.
And then he goes to get a
Like,
beer
why?
somewhere, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know where he went. What else could he have been doing? Like, if we were going to theorize on where he went to get out of the
His
to go
woman was
find someone.
outside getting her booty
But
kicked,
that
supposedly.
vision-
Like,
that vision wasn't about the relationship with Wanda.
from a
that
story
vision
standpoint,
had
no, but from a
Other
logical
things going
standpoint,
on.
Yeah.
that
I don't
that
know.
that vision is the same
He was more
vision
War
that said
Machine
"I
than
love
anything
you" right
else.
before he died. Like that's that vision. Those memories are in that brain.
He says, "I am the Vision."
and takes off. Like he unlocked those memories. Now, can you write that away with story pretty easily? Sure. He needs time for all that. No, but I mean, seriously, like he needs time
Sorry, I'm
for him to process all that. But it's like, he has that flood of memory come back.
Mm.
You see it, and he doesn't act on it, and that's weird. That's
Yeah.
super bizarre. That's convenient storytelling. We don't need another player in this because ultimately the story of our show is this Wanda and this Vision, not this other one. I get it.
Yeah. Technically, the
that's
White Vision
messy.
is her vision.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's funny, is because that's
But it's not the
boyfriend
vision
and
that
the
you
ex.
started with. Right. I really, again, it's my way, it's not their way. I really had wished that it was somehow a phasing
combine
thing
them.
where they could have melded together to create
That's what I
one.
wanted. Absolutely
And
what
again,
I wanted.
It's not my story to change.
Well,
but
Yeah.
it just
White
would have
Vision
solved some of the
doesn't have the
messiness.
memories of Vision from the series, from
No, but
the
he-
show WandaVision. He doesn't have the last couple of, I don't know if it was days or weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
His days.
Like, he's missing those days. And those are
Mm.
kind of key days as far as their relationship goes to
No.
me.
No. Look at the end of Infinity War right before he dies.
Yeah.
This robot stares at his loved one who's killing him and he knows she has to do it, says I love you, and dies. That's the last thing he said.
Yeah.
That's the same. That's White Vision. That's who was inside White
Unless
Vision. There's no
there's
logical
something
reason
going on with
Yeah.
Wanda somewhere else that we don't know about right now, unless he knows something else is going on. If we're talking Doctor Strange kind of level things going on, maybe he's off to figure out how to stop whatever that is that's happening next.
Well,
I
that's
don't know.
the thing. That's the thing that was wasted, is that he just left. He was written
It's
to
going
just
to be
be
told
like,
someday.
that's
right?
a great story for another time. And then just it's Star Wars.
Exactly.
How did you get that lightsaber? Oh, it's a good story for another time. Are we going to tell you that
another
story?
time.
No.
No.
It's
Thanks,
going to be
Maz.
another 2 movies. Not
Thanks.
going to tell you.
You're gonna have to read it in a book in about 20 years.
Yeah. It's been 6 years. That movie came out in 2015, didn't it? Force Awakens came out in 2015. Pretty sure. So, if it's 2021, it's been 6 years. There's been no answer to how Maz Kanata got that lightsaber. So, is it going to be 6 years until we go?
It was explained in the
That's why
comics.
Vision had to leave. What I think would have been better, and what I think would have been better, is that if instead of Vision going away, he got his memories and shut down. If he shut down, then they would have been able to deal with him later because he's shut down. He's not part of the current story. What happened to the other Vision? He passed out. I don't know what's going on. So that's what Vision could have done. It's like, is he all right? Yeah, he's fine. He's probably just recharging. Or
it's as simple as a line
that's
delivery.
the other thing. We needed the 2 Visions to get together, to come together.
Yeah.
But
They needed to keep
she
them
needed
separate.
to say goodbye. She needed to say goodbye, not hello again. Even though that's a line, I'm sure we'll say hello again. It needed to be both of them together, coming together, and they were able to become Vision again.
But if she ended up getting with the White Vision and it not be this Vision that she just spent the last week with, or 10 days or whatever,
I would say
9 days,
if they combined, it would have been the White Vision with
if
both
they're not-
Vision's memories.
But if they're not, then does it count? Like, they did a lot in this show as far as growing their relationship, having these children, like becoming a couple, even though he couldn't remember their past. There was a lot of growth there. And if she got back together with the Vision that she didn't have those 9 days with, would that be as satisfying? I know, I'm just looking at this from a love story point.
I'm saying
That's-
that it
well,
would have
that's
been
one
better if they came together with Wanda in the room,
And-
had
Yeah.
that I'm back now.
But would she even have wanted that?
Well, so
But that's the thing. The
the
story
thing-
wants
yeah,
us
she
to say
would've.
wants her to say goodbye to him.
that's the thing. That's the narrative that they chose to go. That's the path they chose to go down. Was we need the drama of them. They drilled it down at the very end of the show. It was Wanda and Vision, and they needed her to say goodbye because they needed to move her chess piece to another part of the board. And that the only way to do that is for that love saga to be gone again. They needed
Yeah.
to move them beyond that. You could easily have explained away the two visions coming together to fight Agatha at the end there. You could have. Does that serve Wanda's narrative? No. Wanda needed to
No.
beat Agatha on her own, right? They needed to. Could the two visions have gone and taken on in a much larger or more epic scale of a battle between Sword and the boys? Yes. They and Monica, yes. But then you kind of sacrifice a little bit of Monica stuff. They kind of wrote themselves into a corner saying we got to hit these particular beats. Like we need to introduce White Vision. But by the end of that, if White Vision was still around, Wanda has the power to merge those two entities together potentially and create her version of Vision again that can live beyond the Hex. But they needed the drama. The only drama you have if the Hex goes away at that point is the boys vanishing. You could have played into that if you really wanted to, but they chose to go the Vision route instead.
So,
but the interesting thing as well, and jumping back into the previous thing, is that we didn't see the boys disappear. We assumed they did, but we didn't see it. So the emotion was there, but the emotion was supposed to be about her saying goodbye to Vision. Spring, what are you saying?
So I was saying, what is she doing up in the cabin where she's studying and drinking tea?
Just
who is it
figuring
she's
out
after?
her powers.
Is she just learning?
She's now got
or
the
is
dark
she
hold. She's
trying to do something?
She's doing what she said she was going to do to Monica. She said, "I don't understand this power, but I will." She's gone off to understand the full scope. And Strange had training. He was taught. He's been learning. She's never been able to do that. All of her power is completely raw. All of her power is emotional. All of her power is just instinct. She's learning to harness. What's that? Chaotic. Yeah, she's learning. Yeah, she's learning to control that. And once because she's been told by Agatha, you're more powerful than anyone else on this planet. You just don't know. You don't know how to use it. Hence, she wanted to be her mentor, or potentially succubus, if that was going to be the the way that she went with it.
That's what it looked like.
But it throughout her learning, because she's in that spatial that what do they call it, the spiritual realm there. That's where she was able to hear. I don't think she was trying to astral plane. She wasn't trying to seek out the boys. I think it's just because of where she was in time at that moment. She was able to hear their calls from whatever plane or realm that their souls were in, and that's where she's going. Now, where does that lead?
If they even are in a plane or a realm, it's
or are they just a memory? We don't know.
For all we know, she closed that door, and Mephisto or Nightmare popped into that room and said, "Hey, boys," and took them and took off. I mean, we have no idea. We have no idea. We, like you said, we didn't see it.
Absolutely,
we never saw
it. There's.
I do have another totally separate question, but when you're ready.
Yeah, no, go.
What are the odds that Agatha has a failsafe built into herself, where she'll be able to pop out of this, mind trap that Wanda's put her in? Is there a chance that Agatha's going to get out without Wanda freeing her?
There's a chance. I just don't see it happening.
Okay.
I don't think so, because I don't think
she seemed a little more with it than to allow something like that to happen.
She couldn't. She had no magical powers. Yeah.
Oh, completely.
Because
of the runes that
witch,
But the runes are gone now.
The
once
runes
the
that
hex
she
is
was
gone,
sending out prevented any other witch from being able to cast any magic.
But it's not like Wanda lost her powers. Like, yes, she lost her ability to use her powers when she was in the basement, but when they got out of the basement, she had her powers back. So there's no longer the hex, so the runes aren't still there. So does Agatha have a different failsafe to get out of the mental spell that she's been put under?
That's the thing, though. She can't use her powers if she doesn't think they exist. She doesn't know that they exist because she doesn't know she's a witch. She doesn't know she's Agatha anymore. She thinks she's
Agnes
the nosy neighbor Agnes. Like, she has no knowledge
could
of
she
anything.
Have put in a backhanded sort of like deep in the heart of Westview, if something were to happen to me, this is going to make sure that I'm okay again. Like, she's still in town.
Who
Like,
knows?
she's still gonna be in that house probably. Like, I have this, like,
With
sort
the
of
car
feeling
through the front.
yeah, well, like, I have
Well, the
this
poor
little
one.
feeling that Agatha's gonna maybe not just be there when Wanda wants her there,
The poor
and
woman
may
doesn't
show
have
up
anywhere to
before.
live. I don't know where she's going to live.
She's got
That was Ralph's
house.
house. That was Ralph Boner's house. You think he's going to let her in there? Hell no.
Yeah.
She doesn't have anywhere to live. She's going to be a bum on the street for the next few years until
Or
somebody takes her in.
maybe Jimmy puts her into witness protection because that goes so well.
That's the thing. I just don't know how anybody just leaves her there like that. I don't. That was one. It was a funny moment, and I get that they're setting up this idea with that line of I know where to find you. I know where you find you, or whatever, as the mentor thing. But other than some fan service for something like that, like it's not practical. Like there's nothing logical about that. You can't. She doesn't have a home.
Picked apart.
Yeah, the hex is gone. So how does she? Because the spell was cast while the hex was in place. The hex is gone. Everybody, bewitched underneath that hex went back to normal except her. Like it's weird.
Well,
It's
that's
a weird, convenient. Yeah, it's a weird, convenient storytelling. But why? If Wanda knows at that moment, Wanda knows that she's taking the hex away. At that moment, she knows. So why put her under a spell if that spell's only going to last about 30 seconds?
Well, I don't think it would, but that's why I was thinking that maybe Agatha had enough foresight to say, like I don't know how much she knew about Wanda's powers and the whole mind controlling portion of that.
I like send her to the raft. I think that makes a lot of sense. Seriously, I think that makes a lot of sense. You take her, she doesn't understand what's happening.
Who's trapped in the raft at this point?
I don't think anybody is.
I don't think anybody's.
No, nobody that you really know. I don't think anybody.
That would be really weird, though, to just put like someone who thinks they're the neighbor next door into maximum security prison on an island raft thing. So
yeah.
But where do we?
I mean, the raft might.
Agnes is going to.
The raft might play into.
When
I don't know.
or where?
Where? Do you think she'll
Wherever
be in
Wanda
Doctor
wants
Strange?
her. Well,
Doctor
if
Strange
Wanda's
is getting
next
really full.
appearance is Doctor Strange,
That's the thing.
And,
Doctor
we don't
Strange
know
could
what
be
the
getting really full.
story is, though.
Sorry.
Do you think Wanda is Wanda supposed to be in the next Spider-Man? Like, there's no Wanda movie coming up next.
Well, there is. Well,
No.
she's in.
She's in Doctor Strange.
So she's
Right. I know that, but what about?
Yeah.
But we don't know to
Like,
what
is there
level.
another Avengers movie coming out?
No, not right. They haven't announced anything.
Okay.
But we don't know to what level she's in Doctor Strange 2. And because you still have Mordo out there being could potentially be the big bad of Doctor Strange 2. They could just be setting him up for, because these movies typically like to go in threes, right? So they could be saving Mordo for Doctor Strange 3, and you get more of the weirdness. Either Nightmare is the villain, Mephisto's the villain, something in there. I don't see Wanda being the ultimate villain in Doctor Strange 2. I think they've hinted at maybe she's villain-ish kind of thing, maybe more of a problem. I think that's the way they refer to her as. She's a problem for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And that goes back to why the heck Doctor Strange didn't show up in this is still beyond me. And was that one of the things that got cut for time? Was he in a coda? Was he whatever?
I don't think he was supposed to be there at all.
It just never makes. Again, I go back to logic. It doesn't make any logical sense for the Sorcerer Supreme, who's supposedly guarding the entire realm of this kind of crap from happening, doesn't show up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Unless there's something else going on out there and he's a little busy. Like, that is a lot of magic that he's not paying attention to. And it doesn't really make sense unless there's that multiverse and Agatha's somewhere else in the multiverse. Like, I don't know. There's so many things it could be.
It's messy.
It is a little messy.
I have a feeling that, the rumors how the three Spider-Men for the next Spider-Man film. I have a feeling that's actually a Multiverse of Madness thing, because Tom Holland keeps dissing the rumors how there's going to be the other two Spider-Man in this Spider-Man film. I have a feeling this new Spider-Man film won't be a multiverse thing. might be, but I don't think it will. And then it opens up to Multiverse of Madness, where that's where you'll get the other Spider-Man. Well, it's Spider-Man and the other two of them, and it makes sense because it's directed by Sam Raimi, so I'd be okay with that. But then you've got wizards, you've got witch, you've got sorcerers, not wizards, according to that quote, that scene from Captain
Pointy
America,
hats.
from Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Sorcerer's just wizards without the pointy hat.
Yeah. So we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, I have a feeling that Agnes could probably come back in Multiverse of Madness for something.
Is there
Because
any
you never know.
possibility
They
that
might
Doctor
say we
Strange
need
tries
somebody
to get her to help?
to get her to help.
Yeah, like, is there a way Doctor Strange might go find Agatha and be like, "You understand what's going on with Wanda? Can you help us stop her?"
Yeah,
I got it.
What?
I got it. I got it. It's the coda of Doctor Strange 2, right?
Yeah.
And it's Mordo showing up in Westview and taking away Agatha's powers because she's a witch. He's moving around the world, taking away magical powers from people. And so that he finally makes his way to Westview and takes away. So now she's not a threat, but she can still go be Wanda's mentor and teach her and tell her about powers.
Yeah, she
and
doesn't
things like
need
that.
her
And
powers.
she doesn't need her powers to do that.
Teach.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Yes.
No, it's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It works.
Locked in. If it happens,
call me.
You heard it right
Yeah,
here.
like-
now.
Ideas, folks.
You heard it right here first, ladies and gentlemen.
It took us
Oh,
a while
man.
to get there, though. I wonder how long these writers' meetings are.
So, but
Longer than
I have a
what?
question,
How
though.
long? An hour.
Longer
and
than
8
the hour
minutes.
and a half.
Yeah. The Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx have been confirmed for Star Wars. For Spider-Man 3,
Spider-Man.
right?
Yeah. So then
They've been
you go
confirmed for that.
multiverse has to be a thing.
Right.
I agree. It's messy, but what if
Holland's going
they were
out of his
supposed
way.
to be introduced in Multiverse of Madness? Like, that's the thing where they could have kind of got stuffed around, where they would have maybe been introduced in Multiverse of Madness. They've been pulled out of their universes, and then how much rewriting would you do if a movie was swapped around with a timing? Probably a lot.
You have to.
I don't think you
unless
have to.
The timeline.
The
is
expectation-
changing.
If Doc Ock and Electro from other films, 2 other franchises, are coming in, what if it's like Ralph's brothers? No, I'm kidding. Because the
Oh my god! If they turn that into a boner joke, I'm done.
Ralph Boner, Fred Boner, George Boner. There you go. They're the Boner
It could
brothers.
just be Tom. Tom's going out of his way to specifically say, "Oh, I haven't heard anything about these guys being in this." I mean, come on. That's one of those things. You sat Tom down and you went, "I swear to God, if you spill this, like, you will never work in Hollywood again."
Yeah.
Because he's going out of his way to make sure people think
So,
that he knows
who-
nothing about that.
who was Paul Bettany saying he was so excited to work with? Was it himself?
Himself.
It was
Being an
himself.
asshole? Okay.
It was a
Yeah, he
complete
wanted to
troll.
work
There
with
we go.
himself.
He said it out of jest, and then like later on went in another interview, went, "Oh my God, I did not know that people were going to take that so seriously. Like, I had no idea, and they're going to be so disappointed when they find out I was talking about myself." Like, he said it as a
It's
joke.
really fun. Yeah.
And all of us freaking theorists out there were like writing things down and going, connecting the dots and saying, "Yeah, that could totally be this guy.
We
That
had
could be
our
this
own
guy. That
board.
could also be this guy. He hasn't worked with this guy playing 6 Degrees of Separation, like with Kevin Bacon." I was like, come on, like, it's just, come on, Paul, you suck, dude. You
I'm
suck.
trying to find the quote and who said it.
I mean, it's just nuts though. Like,
When surprised by
literally
TV
that-
line. Here, is this the quote? Spoilers is another MCU character returning. Back in December, fellow Disney Plus series Mandalorian stunned viewers with Mark Hamill's appearance as Luke Skywalker. When asked if WandaVision has anything similar in store, namely a casting that she can't believe hasn't leaked yet, Elizabeth Olsen gave us a quick yes. Though she dared not to offer any specifics, she did share a laugh that I'm really excited for viewers to see what or who is coming. I'm confident that's just White Vision.
That's
White Vision, yeah, because that's a big deal in the comics. That's a big deal in the comics, and so it's that kind of thing. And she, she's been handed a lot of those comics and has read through those comics leading up to her preparation for the role. So she, she's kind of a fangirl right now. Like she didn't understand it going into it, but now she does. And so that for her, because it was probably fresh on her mind, she's probably going, oh yeah, I bet people are going to go freaking bonkers when they see White Vision. And people did. It wasn't like it wasn't cool. It was very cool. Yeah. It just, it was not Luke Skywalker level cool.
No.
Yeah.
At all.
Who do you think a Luke Skywalker level character would have been?
Well, we talked about that. Would have been Reed Richards. You dropped John Krasinski as Reed Richards.
Absolutely.
Showing
that
up,
would have been it. That would have
been it. Yeah. Because you're finally introducing the royal family of Marvel. At that moment, they become canon. Even though they've announced the movie, they officially become canon. You see who the main star of that movie is going to be. We all want John Krasinski to be that character. I can't believe they haven't announced it yet. What are you waiting on, Kevin Feige? You all know you're going there. What are you waiting on?
It's got to be the deal. It's like, they're waiting for the deal to close. It's probably that.
Because that's the thing. Like, when you sign up for that character, you're going to be Reed Richards for 20 years.
It could just be the NDA is that specific, where like everybody has to be silent, or the NDA has a date on it or something like that. So that could be they're just waiting for a certain date for somebody to be able to discuss it. I don't know. Like if they are in contract, if they've signed stuff, it could be something as
they'll announce it when they want to announce it. Again, it's just one of those things where why Feige even drop that nugget during the investors meeting if they weren't prepared to announce something with that. He literally mic dropped that thing out of the room. I don't get that.
It's the same thing with, and this is years ago now, but when Ryan, not Ryan, was it Ryan? Yeah, Ryan Johnson, the director of Last Jedi, he was announced to be doing his own Star Wars series.
It's still on the table.
It's still on the table.
Trilogy.
So why announce it then?
Yeah.
Why? When it's not even close to being a thing.
I think if Last Jedi had better fan response. Last Jedi was so polarizing with the fans, and that then left a bad taste in their mouth coming into Rise of Skywalker, which didn't please everybody. I think that was, let's pump the brakes a little bit, let people simmer down, realize that Last Jedi is a fantastic movie, and then come back to Ryan and say, okay, let's do it now, whatever. And he's working. He's been doing a lot of personal projects while waiting, for that time to, finally happen. But that was where, they had, I think they had a good, I think they've come up with a good path for Star Wars now. We're completely off topic, but down the same path though, they didn't announce Tom Holland as Spider-Man until he was in the damn movie, until he was in Civil War. Like at that moment, it was there's Spider-Man. Like it was that first trailer where he showed up and you're like, and he goes, oh, hey guys. And you're like, oh, that was the Luke Skywalker level event that everybody thought was going to happen in WandaVision. And it was going to be Krasinski. It was going to be Reed Richards, not necessarily Mr. Fantastic, but Reed Richards. No, it
should have just been Reed Richards. That would have just been so much better.
I think a lot of people were expecting something out of WandaVision that was beyond what they planned. Like we're looking at it, we're like, we're waiting for these explosions. And I think part of that is being as isolated as we have been for the past year,
I was
the fact that
never
we haven't
expecting
been
that.
able to go to movies and we're missing like these big punches. And so a lot of fans were out here just going like, give me like all of it right now, right here, because you're giving me something. And I think that's why a lot of people were theorizing. That's why they were saying astrophysicist instead of whatever it was. And like there was so many little things that people
Aerospace
were ready
engineer.
to really, ready to really explode on. And that
But
wasn't really
there's
their thought for the show.
but you're right. It wasn't really their thought for the show, but it was the fact that they were laying this stuff on so thick. If they weren't shoving it in your face in every episode multiple times, you wouldn't go down that path. They left so much mystery. And this is, Justin, you were talking about like Winter Soldier and Falcon, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be more of that espionage, spy movie, whatever, more your
Plain,
traditional
simple story.
Winter Soldier-ish type of
But
Civil War
will it?
movie.
What if we actually are massively surprised and they go, "Oh, it's actually this"?
Maybe.
You think it's
Sebastian
this?
Stan has said that it's going to be like that. Now, whether or not he's trolling us, we don't know until we actually see it. But he said WandaVision is their thing and we're our own thing. Like we're Winter Soldier, Captain America, Civil War style. They're doing their mystical thing. We're doing this, that kind of. So I tend to lean that direction until he proves me wrong. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just they put it when they just put so much mystery behind everything. They're inviting the idea of theorizing, and they're not saying not to. It's part of the fun of it.
Super fun, yeah.
But they laid it on so thick that in certain areas you couldn't not go there. Like I know people kind of assumed it was this one thing with that line of dialogue, but the way they kept emphasizing this particular person that Monica was going to meet, and it never happened. That's what is that? Why did you make such a big deal about this person? And then
that machine was supposed to be such a big deal.
And it wasn't. It was another boner joke.
Yeah.
It was another boner joke. Like it was just some of that stuff was just strangely done. And it was done on
comes back
purpose.
Later. And then we'll be like, oh, that's why that machine was, but the fact that half of it turned into an old truck like so quickly, the whole thing was kind of like, nah.
Just a quick thing that I just thought of. The outfit that Monica was wearing, the 70s outfit with the fish pants. Do you think that's the shield outfit again? The sword outfit? Or do you think it's still the fish pants? I'm guessing that they're still the fish. That they're the.
I think it's still the fish pants, or whatever. No, it was.
Oh, you mean once the hex is gone, whether they'll stay? No, because the things that came out of the hex stayed.
That's right, because it was out of the hex.
They got the power for vision.
Because
they got the power for vision from the.
I just really want her to wear those pants again.
I want to wear those pants.
Make something out of those pants. Make her suit. Make her her suit out of that material. Because it's perfectly great material to use for something, for whatever. I think that's what.
Can Wanda do that for other things? Because I'm like,
she should be able to.
Really cool costumes.
yeah, she can. Really, really super thin, really lightweight, but it's actually Kevlar. Genius.
Yeah.
Genius.
That was fun.
It was.
I can't wait to see Jimmy Woo in more movies. I can't wait to see. Is Darcy going to be in the next Thor movie? Where's she coming back?
I don't think
it's kind
Darcy's going to be in it because I would have seen her because everyone else
when you
is
went
in
down
Sydney.
The block to go spy
She's
on
not,
them, right?
I know. Yeah. No, I can't see her. She's not here.
I can't
Is that
see
how it
you.
works? I was at the store. I didn't run into her, so she must not be here because Sydney's really small. Everyone knows everyone.
So I wanted to talk about expectations and what Monica's story was.
On what her future story or her current story?
Well, her whole arc was that her mum created Sword. She'd been blipped for 5 years. She comes back. Her mum's dead. Very sad. Very sad. Hasn't had any time to really
grieve
or process this. and then she's been thrown into this Westview hullabaloo, and then, but now she's being sent up to space to
she's
see
not even being
either
sent,
Talos
'cause-
or Fury. I'm thinking it could be Talos
Fury.
because she's
Talos
still
is
got
on
a
Earth.
couple of weeks, but it's probably
Talos is on
Fury.
Earth.
With
Well-
He's
Tom?
on Earth.
I
He's
mean,
in Spider-Man.
Peter. Yeah,
I
he's
know.
with Peter. Oh, that's
But-
after.
It's
Yeah.
after, not at the moment.
can't-
So it
they
could be a
can't, 'cause
couple of
they
weeks. It
can't
could be
have him
like, I'm
meet
going to
with
have a
her.
chat, and he'll be like, gotta go, got a mission, and then goes down. Anyway,
It's Fury.
Oh, that would be.
so her
I-
entire story was to what? Get powers.
Yes.
It was
That
just
her
to
origin
get
story. It was
powers and to
great.
introduce her.
Yeah,
It was her origin story.
And
I love it.
Yeah. So
Because we didn't know. I didn't know we were gonna. I knew Monica Rambeau was gonna be in the show. I didn't know we were gonna get an origin story for her. What's her? She's been known as 2 different names or whatever.
3 different names. Like she's
different
she's
names.
the first female Captain Marvel.
Photon. Couldn't think of it.
She's
Photon.
the first female Captain Marvel.
Right.
Before Carol Danvers was Captain Marvel, it was Monica Rambeau.
right.
And then she's been Photon, and she's something else as well. But I have a feeling everyone
Starts with
keeps talking
S.
about Photon.
Yeah. It starts with
so-
an S, I think.
Yeah,
thought
I'm
it
not
was
sure.
Spectrum.
I watched a video
Spectrum.
once, and then I don't remember.
Yeah. Spectrum, Photon, and Captain Marvel, I believe. I
Okay.
think.
So also, we don't really know the extent of her powers as well, because her eyes keep changing color. We thought it was blue, and then the episode where she sees Ralph, he says like Snitch is gonna snitch or Snoop is gonna snoop or something. Whatever. Snitches get stitches.
I think it's
Snoop is
Snooper's
gonna
gone Snoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Snoop-
is
Snoop
And then
is
the
gonna
her eyes are
Stitches is better.
purple. Her eyes are purple
Snitches
then.
get stitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her eyes are purple then, and then her eyes are yellow when she becomes translucent and energy.
Oh, when
So,
the
like-
bullets kind of bounce off. her.
Yeah, well they wobble through her and fall down.
They pass through.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange's
Yeah.
magic is orange, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorcerers.
And
yeah,
all of the
they-
sorcerers are orange. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we seen other colors of magic before the show?
I don't remember the dark magic.
'Cause we haven't seen that
um,
much magic.
No, I don't remember the dark magic
was blue,
being.
purple, and red.
In the show.
Blue because because remember we spoke about this last episode. The Salem.
yes, the Salem
peeps.
witches were blue.
They were
Yeah.
blue, and then
Mhm.
Agatha's was purple,
Purple. Mhm.
and then Wanda's is red.
Wanda's is red.
But it's
I
all
feel like
like
there was green. Yeah.
misty.
There was green also there before.
Well, the stone provided
The
a green
stone
time
is
power. That's
green, yeah.
different. That's a separate
Okay.
because he's using
like,
that specific.
When the
power
ether
for
was
it.
what color was the ether when that went?
That's not magic.
into the
Ether's
That's
chain?
red.
Yeah, that's red.
That
That's
was
not
red.
magic.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
But I don't remember the dark
That's right.
the dark magic that like the ancient one was pulling in. I feel like that was still orange. I feel like all the sorcerers, even if they were pulling in dark magic, was still using like an orange based kind of attack there.
Yes. Don't the dark elves, aren't they magical?
What are the dark elves? Remind me.
The dark elves
I don't think
from
so.
Thor: The Dark World.
Dark
I have a weird
elves.
feeling that
Trying
they're
very hard to picture what you're
magic-y.
talking about.
Yeah, doesn't he turn like Frank into that thing? I don't know. I just but also the magic that the sorcerers use is sparkly
wizards.
orange.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, I know. I keep having to change it from wizards to
Sorcerer.
sorcerers because it's so confusing.
Have you heard
It's
the
not
new
because
theory?
we haven't seen wizards yet. We just seen
Have you heard the-
witches and sorcerers.
Right. But have you
But no
heard
wizards.
the new theory that Loki died in Dark World and that the Loki that shows up after Dark World is the Loki from this new Loki show, and then he starts moving through time that way. That's a new theory that's out there right now. It's so wild, and it just makes my brain melt. But I love that theory that he actually did die on that planet in Dark World, and that this Loki that's moving through time in his series shows back up to cause mischief and whatever, and didn't really die. Or it wasn't that he didn't die. It was he's a different Loki from the other.
Didn't Loki create a branch anyway?
Yes.
Yeah. So
in theory,
there's a lot going on.
You
there.
can only create a branch
Multiverse of Madness
if you remove a Infinity Stone from a timeline. He hasn't removed anything from any timeline. He moved in space with the Space Stone, which is inside the Tesseract. He didn't do anything in regards to time. We don't know, and we won't know until Loki comes out, how he deals with time. We know it has. We know it's got time elements in it. Especially what Owen Wilson's character, is he worked for the Time Cops or whatever?
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme's friends.
Yeah.
So,
exactly what it is.
So yeah, or the Adjustment Bureau, like pick one. And then
oh my god.
So that I'm looking forward to that. Loki's going to have as much or more to pick at than WandaVision does. Which
Loki's going to be
it's going to be so much fun.
A complete mind.
Yeah.
Just whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
mind
fuck. It's gonna.
We can swear on this channel.
We can swear on this show. Okay.
This one's not friendly.
It's gonna be it's gonna be nuts. You're gonna see we're gonna see some wild stuff when we get down into it. And I just don't know where they can go with that one. Again, that's one of those ones kind of like WandaVision. Like I didn't know. To your point, Spring, I didn't know what to expect from WandaVision. I just kind of took it as it went. I wasn't overhyping it because that was the thing. I was really just kind of waiting to see where they went with it. It was because they laid it on so thick. That's why I went with all the theories and things. They weren't. They can go back now and say, well, we weren't asking you to do that, but yeah, you were.
That they were like overly dramatic and overemphasizing things because of the time periods that they were using to mock the shows. So like when what's her name? Parrish. When the actress was talking about like how she got the part, she was like, I just went all out, completely overboard with my acting, and they loved it, and it was exactly what I was supposed to do. And even Elizabeth Olsen says this also, where she's like, I was doing a double take, and then I did like a 4 take where I was like, what? And they were like, tone it down a little bit.
Pull it back. Pull it back too. I love that.
So part of it could have been like just they got so into it that they were kind of overdoing it, and we got drawn in by that.
I love doing that with actors. I love telling them
to so much fun.
Go turn it up to 11 and let me turn you back down. Like that's where I want you to start at 11 and let me bring you back if I need to, kind of thing. Because I feel like if it's harder to push them to that rather than pull them back from it.
Yeah.
But if you give them carte blanche to just go nuts and just experiment, try some stuff. If I don't like it, we'll return it. You know what I mean? We have the receipt. But if you start them there, you get a much better result, in my opinion, than having to start them here and try to get them to here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was wondering, Spring, do you have any user-based questions that people have sent in, or from Twitter, or from previous shows? I'm just wondering because we can go through those before as a wrap up.
Get your questions in. Get them in quick.
We had a couple of questions last time. Basically, a couple of people were asking about why Doctor Strange didn't show up at the end of WandaVision, and we kind of touched on that today already.
That's the thing. If he showed up, then we're too much story becomes about Doctor Strange. But then again, he showed up in Ragnarok and it was fine. Because he showed up, but in story structure writing terms, he was a key master, a gatekeeper or something. And he basically gave a a boon, or what? I can't remember the story structure-y word for it, but he gave a thing for the character to continue on their quest. I don't think that would have been the case for this, because Doctor Strange would have come in and then tried to stop Wanda. That's too much, because Wanda has to stop Agatha. Agatha has to stop Wanda. Vision and Vision were fighting. Monica fighting with Ralph. That's where the story is. And then all of a sudden we find out that it's Darcy who's fighting with Hayward, which has just crashed into it. If we added Doctor Strange into that, it would have been a mess. I wouldn't have enjoyed that.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people,
I just feel like...
and it's like figure out who is actually against who. But having him come in at the end might have been okay. Wanda's making her tea in her cabin, and then she's in the back being like in the astral plane, and then what if there was a knock at the door? And then the door opens and Strange is there and goes, I think we need to talk. Cut. That would have been fine.
Right.
But we also don't need that, because he could do that
at
the start of his at the start of his movie.
We don't need that. Again, it's that trolling thing that they did, though. They were doing early press for WandaVision, like via, because like everybody is, they were doing it via Zoom or whatever. And in the middle of this press junket that they're doing, guess who pops in as another video source panel? Benedict Cumberbatch. And he's like, well, how did I find myself here? Like, he literally like looks around and what am I doing here? Like,
yeah,
the trolling that they freaking did for this show.
Yeah,
it was on another level.
Everyone's been kind of bored.
And that's the thing.
Awesome.
It's like they know we're going to be like, especially with this show, they know we're going to be theorizing things. We're going to be picking it apart. I didn't anticipate it going into that show that we were going to do that, but that's what they were doing. And God bless them if they didn't know that they were going to just mess with us the entire time. Why else do you cast Evan Peters?
Yeah,
it's a total, but they could have. He could have come in. You still could have. I could have found a way to write him in that. Again, it's not my story to mess with. But he shows up. He makes his way through the hex. She's having her confrontation with Agatha. I would have loved that moment if Agatha like knew Strange, like they knew each other, kind of thing. Because they have that moment where like he just kind of walks by her and she kind of looks at him and he looks at her and she just goes Steven and he goes Agatha, and he just keeps walking, that kind of thing. Like,
well, that's the thing. And they don't know what Agatha's been doing since the Salem.
That's what I mean. Like, yeah,
I doubt she's been laying low. Come on, she doesn't seem like the lay low kind.
No, exactly.
They better have a reason. They better have a reason why he wasn't there. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting to see in Doctor Strange 2 a reason why Mordo was giving him trouble. Something happened. Something was going on and he wasn't able to get there. They better have a reason for it, because you can't write out the Sorcerer Supreme any other way without it. There's too much magic going on in that town, and that's his job.
Yeah. Next question. Was anything else come through?
I still have a big problem with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. not being considered canon.
So Kirsty was just asking in chat just now about whether Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon. Does that mean Coulson's around or not?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Is Coulson actually dead, or is Coulson actually
I still consider canon
alive?
He's
dead, but he came back in there and said he was just in Tahiti.
That's
I loved him.
the ABC shows, not canon. MCU adjacent.
But they reference the attack on New York.
They reference, of course, but the films don't reference them. Films don't need to reference them.
I call it canon light. I say it was canon up until a point, and then they went like multiverse on us or something. Like, that's what I think.
I feel like they could go either way with it.
Or it was multiverse
they really wanted to bring him back,
which I'm okay with.
That's fine too.
I think if they wanted to bring him back and they just went with the Tahiti story and just add, I don't think that there would be too many fans who would be too upset about that at this point. It's been a long time. There's a lot
I
of
think it
seasons
would
of
be
that.
awesome and so ballsy if in Multiverse of Madness they bring Coulson, Daisy, Mac, a bunch of the characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into this universe and go, oh, it's the same but different. I'd be okay with that.
I had a lot of hope for them introducing and making those guys canon somehow, but when Chloe Bennett got cast in the new Powerpuff Girls, I lost all hope that she's ever going to be a part of the MCU again. Bums me out.
That's another reason why I think that it's going to be difficult for Lashana, is that her name? Who plays Maria Rambeau? Because she's in the new 007 movie. So she's in the, she's in that franchise now. I think that's why she wasn't in this. Because she's busy doing that. Even though that movie's done. They've finished that.
Yeah.
It just hasn't come out
yet. They needed to move Monica's story along, though, and you can't do it if Mom is still around.
I'm just hoping that they have flashbacks in Captain Marvel 2, because that's going to be exciting. Captain Marvel 2 is going to have Captain Marvel, Photon, and Ms. Marvel all in the same thing. So the Ms. Marvel show, I don't know if they've announced when that's coming out.
I feel like they're shooting it right now. I feel like
yes,
I've heard that
they are. They're definitely shooting it now. What's her character name? You played the Avengers game, didn't you? What was her name? Kamala Khan.
Kamala something or other. Kamala Khan, right?
Yeah. So that's just going to be cool, because I think also that Monica might be in that show. I'm not sure. But still, it's the Captain Marvel movie is going to be exciting because we're going to have like all three Marvel characters, which would be exciting, and that's probably where Fury's going to be in that, and that story with Skrulls, and we've got Secret. Do we have Secret Wars coming? Is that a thing?
Secret invasions, Secret Wars. What do they call it? I thought it was Secret Invasion.
I think I might be getting mixed up with two different things.
You have Armor Wars and I think Secret Invasion. I think it's the title or the titles
or something. And that's the thing. Is that going to lead into that?
That should be Fury.
How many things are actually coming out? I'm excited to see the future of what's going on.
Yeah,
and what's
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
Yeah,
that's the comic, or that's the movie. That's the show.
That's the show.
Secret Invasion is the show.
Yes, is the show.
Okay.
Nick Fury led show that they revealed at the investors meeting.
Yeah, so that's got to be Skrulls as well. Somehow, because aren't they good guys?
I don't think. Why would? Yeah, I was like, that's not going to be an invasion there. It's going to be more like a internal invasion, don't you think?
Well, that's the thing. The Skrulls are kind of bad guys in the comics, weren't they? And that's why it was a spin on when we watched Captain Marvel, and then all of a sudden the Kree were bad guys. Because aren't the Kree supposed to be good guys?
I think the Kree are just kind of indifferent. Like, I wouldn't call them bad or good. They're just kind of don't make them mad kind of thing. They'll help you out if it falls into their issue, but they, but because there were Kree that were bad, but there are also Kree that are good, kind of deal.
Yeah,
and but it was the same thing.
There will hopefully be Skrulls that would be bad and good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because the whole idea with the Skrulls was they were coming in and taking over and portraying our superheroes and making you think that they were doing bad things when they weren't, and all this stuff, and that was a big problem. So I love that they put the spin on it, though. I think it's gonna be great, and because I think it's gonna be, my guess is gonna be Fury and Talos probably kind of running that show, would be my guess, and those two together would be fun.
That would be great fun. Any other questions before we wrap up? Because we'll probably take one more. But if anybody who's watching right now, if you do want to ask a question for next episode, please don't forget to follow us at Nerd Roundtable on Twitter. And also we have Instagram as well, at Nerd Roundtable. So please go follow, because that would be wonderful, and then we'll be able to have like a special Q&A segment. And maybe if we get enough of them, we'll have an entire show that's Q&A based. So that's going to be exciting.
Q&A.
Okay.
Question
So
and
most
answer.
of the questions that we had here, we've addressed things like what will happen next? Where did White Vision go? Somebody asked whether we noticed that the Doctor Strange song, like theme, was playing when Wanda was doing her astral
Yes.
projecting.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was just more. It was more of a. Did you see that? Like, does that mean something?
Cool.
And then we have a question right now in the chat about how the Bifrost ties in with magic, which is something I was thinking of also, because that's like a rainbow magic, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's dark
It's different
magic.
because it's god power. It's dark.
It's
magic?
definitely
Okay.
dark magics, because let the dark magics flow through me one last time, and that's what allows
Heimdall. So Heimdall's sword was imbued with it to be a key if he needed it, but he also could absorb the power himself and
he had the sight and the vision, so he had some kind of magics in him. Yeah, but now that the Stormbreaker has the ability to control the Bifrost, or
just
access
like his
the
sword
Bifrost.
did. Yeah, it's basically the new key, just like his sword was. Yeah. I still really wanted Heimdall to be the Soul Stone. I thought that would have been a good path, that he was holding on to the Soul Stone the whole time, and then when they killed him off in the first 30 seconds of the movie, I was like, well, that theory's gone.
Yeah.
Plus he was also an H in the word Thanos and all this stuff. Like I had it all mapped out, baby. I was like, that is Heimdall. He's the H in Thanos. That covers all the stones. We're good. Like, that's where it is. Nope. It's on some planet you never heard of before. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't take my calls for ideas. They just don't. Disney.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to the show. Thank you to both of you, to Spring and to Zach, for coming on in. It's going to be exciting. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week, or who my panelists are going to be. I'm definitely going to be here, because this is the most nerdy circle on the planet, the Nerds of the Round Table.
Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out next week, man. There's a lot.
Does.
There's some great nerdy stuff to.
There's lots of stuff coming.
Into, I feel like.
Yeah, take two. I'm going to be talking about the Snyder Cut on Justice League. That comes out in a few days. I'm going to be definitely doing an episode on that. So I don't know who my guest is going to be.
I've been watching movies to prepare.
Does someone need to see, speaking of Superman, does someone need to see the other CW, whatever the heck, those other shows, the Arrowverse shows and Supergirl and all that stuff? Do you need to see that before you can see this?
No,
Superman and Lois. Do you need to see those before that?
I haven't seen any other CW shows since.
You can start with Superman and Lois completely. It's almost like it's its own thing.
I love Superman and Lois.
But it's the same actor that portrayed Superman in.
It is, but it's absolutely its own thing.
Okay.
They don't even bring up anything from previous things except for one thing. And if you have questions about why there is a second Superman in that show, then you can definitely ask me. But that's a plan. I'm planning on speaking about Superman and Lois with a friend of mine, but I'm not sure when those episodes are going to be coming out. We're hopefully going to be doing those soon. I'm also looking at doing, as I said, one about Justice League. Basically, DC is not an ignored thing on this channel and with me. So we will talk about DC stuff, Marvel stuff, Star Wars stuff. There'll be episodes that are just Marvel based like this one. There will be episodes that we're going to have bits and pieces of a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be all very exciting, and everything will be linked in the Twitter. So please go follow twitter.com/nerdroundtable for all of your nerdy goodness. Anyway, guys, thank you again so much for watching. My name's Justin.
Or get in the Discord.
This is Zach.
Get in the Discord so people know. People get in the Discord too.
And I don't have a link to the Discord, but everything about that will be in the Twitter as well.
Get in the Discord.
It's in the panels on your Twitch, so they can find it.
Yes. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Justin, and we'll see you guys next time.